Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah.
Yup. Hey-o!
Wow. It's week 4, and I've already run out of gas.
Well, that's not good.
I know it's not good. I realized apathy hit me yesterday because when the game was over, I'm supposed to feel something.
Sure.
I'm supposed to be angry, upset, sad, confused, and I really wasn't. And it's so weird to me how it's just like, it's kind of what I thought was going to happen. And when apathy sets in, that's the worst thing that you can have. And I believe that we saw apathy set in with the Browns for a bit during yesterday's game. Second half, their defensive line looked like toilet paper. It looked like they had given up and they were already thinking about the flight home.
Yeah, it felt that way until that turnover.
Yeah, the turnover re-energized the game. But when you're looking at an offense that has scored 3 touchdowns on 4 opening drives this year and 3 touchdowns on all their other drives through 4 games, it is complete incompetence. And I've seen it, so now I know it's not a trend, or it's not an anomaly. It's a trend.
Yeah.
And I think I've already, and this might be the soonest I've ever unplugged for a season in which I thought maybe they could make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm already out.
It's to me, the most disappointing part about it is, like, we're now sitting here talking about culture again.
Yes.
Like, we are sitting here talking about culture in week 4 in a game where you're playing against a journeyman quarterback, no names at receiver, 2 offensive linemen were rookies.
They played without their 2 best players.
They played without their 2 best players. They
were favored on the road.
One of the worst rushing teams. They gave up 150 on the ground. And let's be honest with you, like that scoop and score, they tried to give you the game away.
They tried.
They tried a couple of times, and you still wouldn't take it. And it's just, we're sitting here, Bull, and we're talking. The most disheartening part about it is we were supposed to be over this conversation about culture. We were supposed to be done with that.
You know what, though? You don't exercise culture. You don't, like, you know what I'm saying? You don't wish it away. You don't wish it to change.
It's just,
I look at, and I hate to do this, but God, this is where we are. And I know they lost yesterday. But you look at the Steelers, who avoid the bottom end of the talent cycle. I don't know how they do it. There's only one answer, because the players change. It happens with culture. The owners have a certain level of expectation that everybody in the organization must meet. And if they don't, they're gone. And they have missed on guys. They've brought guys in there, and they've quickly said, whoops.
That wasn't it.
He's not about that Steelers life. He's gone.
But it seemed like the Giants and Patriots were those kind of organizations too, and now they're not.
I agree.
Well, the Giants aren't.
Well, the Patriots were for 20 years.
Yeah, we'll see if the Patriots are.
Look, when you have Tom Brady, he's the giant eraser.
Yeah.
I mean, but
he's the giant eraser.
Yeah. Even the Giants, though, like even the Giants have a success record. They've been there. They've won.
Sure, but now they've been in a stretch for
the last 8 to 10 years, it feels like Bull's right. It feels like
they're not the same organization.
What makes it worse for the Browns is somehow the 2 franchises in the NFL that literally have been a model of consistency are in our division.
Yeah,
it's the Ravens and it's the Steelers, and the Bengals have broken out of that because they had the Browns culture too for decades.
Yeah,
they sort of broke out of that. They've at least been to a Super Bowl.
Multiple.
So they're at least at a higher level than the Browns in culture, but the Browns are Brownsing. That's what they do.
Yeah, and there's not much to hang your hat on right now. Like the Ravens, now they've clearly righted the ship yesterday. But even before yesterday, I can say, well, at least their offense is playing well.
No,
their defense hadn't been playing well.
Hell, I feel like Bengals are
even the Bengals. Their defense
is still
sucks.
bad. Yeah,
but their offense is, they scored 70 points the last 2 weeks, so their offense is in good shape.
It's going to be a 3-horse race.
I mean, for the Browns,
and the Browns aren't in it.
They stink on both sides of the ball right now.
There's no redeeming. You said it.
Yeah.
What do you hang your head on?
I got nothing.
Yesterday was an equal opportunity loss. The offense played down to the competition and had plenty of chances to win the game and didn't.
Yeah.
The defense played awful at stretches, and still we're talking about a defense that's giving up. The amount of points they're giving up per game, the Browns should be 3-1. The Browns have scored 15, 16, 17, 18 points.
Well,
That's it. We haven't scored 20 points yet.
The offense
and then special teams yesterday with the missed extra point.
Yeah, and we'll talk about coaching, and I have some strong words about Stefanski when we get to our offensive conversation.
I do too.
And I've been a huge supporter of his. But let's cheer everybody up for a minute before we
please.
Spend the next night. 85
How did your
minutes.
baseball team do?
Well, we got rained out.
Oh, damn it, Bull.
So it's been pushed back 2 weeks because the All-Star game is this week, so pushed back 2 weeks.
Right.
But the Guardians are set for the playoffs.
Yes.
Their first playoff game will be Saturday against either the Astros or the Tigers. Do a little more on the Guardians later, but they'll play either the Astros or Tigers. That's the 3-6 matchup. And yesterday, by the way, Adnan Virk, you know him?
Worked with him and was very good friends with him during our time together at ESPN.
He picked the Guardians to win the World
saw
Series.
that he did. I
His
liked
opinion. I feel very good about the Guardians.
I liked his logic on every series too. I mean, he zipped through it really quickly.
Yeah.
But
And Zach Meisel and I will be doing a Ultimate Cleveland Guardians show after every Guardians playoff game. We're very excited about that. So,
by the way, if anybody wants Adnan on the show, and I think he's a great guest.
He loves baseball.
He's as big a movie buff as you are. He
yeah,
does
okay.
movie reviews that
Love
are
it.
expert quality.
All right, good.
But if we wanted to get him on the show, I can absolutely line him up.
Yeah.
The reason he's a good idea for a guest is because he's a national figure.
Sure.
Who's has no horse in the Cleveland race whatsoever, and he's picking the Guardians to win the World Series.
That's right. That was cool to hear.
So I'd love to have him on for a 20-minute
absolutely.
segment.
And one last thing on baseball before we go back to the misery that is the Browns. If you're just a baseball fan, today's a very cool day.
Yeah.
The Mets and Braves are playing a doubleheader today.
Big exciting.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, if either team sweeps, now both teams only need to win one game of the doubleheader to make the playoffs.
It's possible they both get in.
It's possible if they split, they're both in.
But
if there's a sweep,
Yeah.
the loser is out, and the Diamondbacks, who are done already,
Will
get in
Yes,
the
can
other
you imagine?
spot. So here's the thing: if let's say the Braves win the first game, well, do you play anybody in the second
That's
game?
exactly
You want
right.
to save up, but you also
if you're the Diamondbacks, you're imploring them.
that's
to play
right.
everyone.
Plus, Braves and Mets don't like each other.
No, they hate each
The
other.
Braves would love to be able to boot the Mets out of the playoffs. Mets, same thing to the Braves.
It's fascinating
Yeah.
decision-making and
Yes.
drama, and it's all in on that today.
That's right.
It's that.
There's nothing else.
It's a great stage. Even if you're a casual baseball fan,
Yeah.
it's worth watching not just one of those games, but both of them because
That's
there
right.
are huge
That's
huge implications
and
for three teams.
I did win my fantasy baseball championship, baby!
I would be disappointed if you didn't. I don't know anybody that's into it as much as you.
Led by Shohei Ohtani, who I got with the 11th pick in the draft.
Is
What a
that the
steal.
keeper big time money one?
Wow,
Oh, yeah.
11th
It's not a
pick?
keeper, but yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Why? Because he wasn't going to pitch.
Because he wasn't going to pitch, and there were some people worried at the time of our draft about him getting suspended because of the
Because
stuff
the
with
gambling.
his. Yeah.
Way off topic.
Yeah.
Is there a chance he pitches in the playoffs?
I don't think so.
Because I haven't heard the Dodgers
They haven't
completely
said
eliminate
totally
it.
no. I think they're leaving it out there, but I doubt it.
Think about it. If they make it to the World Series, you got another month
Yeah.
on that Tommy John recovery.
Even if you could just pitch him an inning out of the pen, why not? They'll probably throw it 100 miles an hour. The
I
guy's
wouldn't.
The
rule him
freakiest of the
out.
freaks.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And
All
Jose
right,
got
let's do our read.
By the way, one last thing.
I know,
Jose,
yesterday's game
the
getting
they
canceled.
tried to get that game in. He needed one homer and one double. What a
Yeah.
bummer that they couldn't play
I know.
yesterday.
It
Yeah.
stinks.
Yeah.
All
Sorry.
right, guys, we're going to get into everything that we've mentioned here in the opening in more detail. But first, a word from our sponsors, FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, can you start the season? You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com/UCSS. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So, guys, arguably, Watson did play his best game yesterday. And the Browns
Not
offense,
I thought he did.
yeah,
I
And the
think
Browns
of the
offense
year,
still
of the year.
struggled. Is there any way to fix this?
Well, I think when you look at the offense, there's a couple of things at play here. First of all, G and I were talking about this before the show. We all know how in politics everything's become so extreme.
Yes, black
right?
and white.
The loudest people are the people on the extremes. They're the most annoying people, and the majority of us who are closer to the middle are quieter, and it's unfortunate. And those people on the extremes get in their silos. Don't listen to anything out of their silo. You have to agree with everything in their silo, 100%. If you disagree with one part of it, you're out. You're kicked out of the silo. Yeah. And this has become the same thing with football. I go to do my post-game podcast yesterday, and I say, I thought Deshaun Watson played a decent game. It wasn't great.
He was decent.
Put the team on his shoulders. I thought he played a pretty decent game. I blame him less than pretty much anybody else on the offense.
Yeah, but I'm glad you said less because no one's without blame.
No one's without blame. But I blame him less.
Okay.
I thought he played a pretty good game, a decent game. My God, he's the worst. You have to bench him, get him out now. Other side, what are you talking about? That was Houston Deshaun. And both sides are out of their mind.
No, that wasn't even close to Houston Deshaun.
But agreed, Jay. But also, there was an article.
But he wasn't awful.
There was an article in CBS Sports saying they should bench him.
I read it.
That's so stupid.
It was in their overreaction or reality.
Yeah, right.
And they actually said that benching him is a reality. To me, I read that. Jeff Kerr wrote it.
Yeah.
Honest to God, when I was reading it, I go, this guy didn't watch the game.
He didn't watch the game.
He talked about his interception. Are you kidding me, Jeff?
Come on,
He talked about his interception.
It's so funny that you say that.
Which was an unbelievable throw.
It's funny that you said that because I said on my podcast last night, I said we're going to find out all the frauds tomorrow.
I watched it.
Right?
Yeah.
I said anybody that says, Watson threw an interception, which technically he did.
Yeah, but that's one of those.
Right.
Come on.
That's one of those where you didn't watch the game. If you're holding that interception against him, you did not watch the game. We know you're a fraud.
I've got an idea to fix that, by the way, and I know it's going to be subjective and it's controversial.
Yeah.
The wide receiver should be tagged with that interception.
I would do it.
Yeah.
Now, here's how you do it. When you list the wide receivers' numbers, receptions, yards, touchdowns, led to interception, LTI.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That means what we saw yesterday. Now, look, if the guy's jumping,
different story. Yeah,
I'm not going to put that one on the receiver. The
Yeah.
quarterback made a bad throw.
Yeah.
So there is going to be some subjectivity that
Sure.
comes down to it. But that one was 100% black and white. There needs to be a negative stat category on the wide receiver, and it should not count against the quarterback.
Well, think
How
about
have we not come up with that in this day of stats?
You're 100% right. Think about also, they didn't turn it over here, but on that last drive, on that first down play, when Nick Harris snaps the ball early, that in the stats is a fumble.
Yes.
So
it goes on Watson.
Watson's got a fumble and an interception. Neither one both were 100% not his fault.
Yeah, no.
You mentioned in the beginning, and last week I came out in my blog. I said, listen, I need Deshaun to be special. I need you to be special. The team is not good enough around us to lean on some of these guys up front or the pieces and parts. I say, if it's in there, I don't care if you make mistakes.
Now you wouldn't categorize yesterday as special, would you?
No. Okay. Here's what I would categorize yesterday is I thought he played hard. I thought he played competitively. I thought every time they asked him to do something, he put it on himself to say,
not every time.
But here's the thing.
The 4th and 3, I thought was.
Well, here's the thing. When you go back and watch that play,
I've watched it enough.
Zach Zinner didn't block anybody.
I saw it.
And at some point in time, when you're asking your quarterback time and time again, we'll start with DeJuan Jones.
He's terrible.
I'd release him. Well, I swear to God, I'm telling you, everybody thinks that's nuts. I'd release him.
We
got to send a message, Bull.
Well, you got guys that are up front that aren't touching people.
Yeah.
I understand that Deshaun Watson makes a lot of money, but at what point in time we're going to say DeJuan Jones makes a lot of money, Amari Cooper makes a lot of money, Nick Harris makes a lot of money, Kevin Stefanski makes a lot of money. What do you want him to do? He didn't touch anybody. There's a wide open receiver, Bull.
Yeah.
And he has to have at least a second to find him. Then, he gets on DeJuan Jones. We go in later on in the game.
And I have no problem with him yelling at DeJuan Jones.
I loved it. By the way, it's one of the best things I've seen out of Deshaun Watson during his time here.
Yes.
I loved it. Then you get to a point and say, okay, well, now let's get to the holding penalty. Now, granted, it was a tic-tac holding penalty, but he did grab his jersey.
He grabbed it enough.
And so you're like, listen, that play, if it's allowed, we're talking about Deshaun Watson in a completely different light.
100%.
Because he came back, he got the team where they needed to go, and he threw a big-time play, got hit on the play, and they got an 82-yard touchdown. It's different. Completely different complexion. Amari Cooper, again, You have a boneheaded drop, one of the best throws Deshaun Watson has thrown in a Browns uniform. That ball was on time, on target, with zip, right in the numbers. He hit Cedric Tillman in the numbers. He dropped it last week.
Yeah.
And it pops off your shoulder pad. It can't happen.
Guys, do you know what Amari's doing, right? He's quiet quitting.
But he played well last week.
I know he did.
But,
and you know what? I have a theory about that. He did just enough to tell all other 31 teams, I'm worth a trade. I'm worth the trade. Guys, he's not in it.
I mean,
he's not in it.
And it don't make the comments you made like last week where you was being defiant, talking about, well, you guys in the media and it's like, listen, man, like I
Didn't talk to the media after last night's
I
live.
would, and then on top of that, Deshaun comes back. He's scrambling around, finds another guy for 10 yards. Guess what? He doesn't get set on time. The play's wiped out because you got a legal procedure when you're moving. What are you doing? Like, get to the line of scrimmage and get it done. And then, so to me, I look at it like this. And this is the most disgusting thing that I've heard. I actually had some fans that went as far as to say, well, G. Bush, I mean, they just don't like him. They don't like him, so they're letting him get sacked. I mean, can you blame them? They don't like. Listen, that is the most cowardly thing I've ever heard somebody say, because what you're indicating is that you would rather see the quarterback that is quarterbacking your team get hit and sacked because somehow you believe the players don't like him. No, you're telling on yourself. You don't like him.
Yeah, don't even give that credence. By
that's
repeating it.
ridiculous.
I mean,
Let's give that no oxygen whatsoever. That's ridiculous.
That's the why I'm sitting here saying I can't believe this is where we at in the fandom, where it's like you are excusing people for not doing their job.
Yeah, that's
in
crazy.
order to say
nuts.
You're rooting against your own team.
What are you doing?
It doesn't make sense. Yeah. The only beef I had with Deshaun on that fourth down play, and again, he probably wouldn't have completed it anyway, but at the last second, you have to at least throw it up.
Throw the ball.
Yeah.
Just throw. That's my only beef with him.
Throw it straight up in the air towards the end
Just
zone.
give it a chance.
I'll give
Even
you
if it's a 1%
can't
chance.
eat it.
You can't eat it.
You can fumble.
It doesn't
matter.
You gotta
There's
try to
no
throw it.
other outcome.
Yeah.
That ball,
Yeah.
when the play ends, cannot be in your hand.
No, but-
it needs to be anywhere else, even if it's in the other team's hands.
And Jay, but this takes us to a conversation about Kevin Stefanski, because
Yes.
that timeout before the fourth down play.
Did the same thing in the first half, Bull.
In the first half, he's been
the
doing
same
that.
thing.
But this one was beyond egregious
It
because
was.
think about this, if he doesn't call that timeout,
we get the ball back
with
with 35 seconds.
it actually would have been a little more, because remember, they let the clock run.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes,
before they.
you're right. It probably would have been with 45, 40 seconds.
And if you stop the Raiders 3 and out, you know they're going to run. There's a decent chance they would stop them.
Yep.
Even if you didn't think it was a decent chance, there's at least a chance.
Yeah.
It's inside their own 10.
And the reason they took it was to try to get them to jump off sides.
Absurd.
Like,
Absurd.
Teams, does he think this is junior high
I
football?
mean, first of all, these days, in those situations, you almost never get a player to
in
jump.
those situations, I agree.
It actually
And by the
happened.
way, Deshaun is not known for a good cut.
No, it actually happened yesterday in the Bengals-Panthers game, believe it or not. The Bengals,
On a situation where they were
the
trying
Bengals
to
got
get
the
them to...
Panthers to jump. But that's like 1 out of 100.
And what was the team that jumped?
The Panthers.
And where are they in the NFL pantheon of
stink.
teams?
They
32.
stink. And the thing is, he wasted that time. His clock management,
Awful Bull.
and timeout management have been atrocious the last 2 weeks, and he is a big part of the reason why they've lost the last 2 games. And I have never said this once the entire time he's been here. Others have said it. I think G said it before. I think you've said it before. I have never said it.
I know where you're going.
It is time for Kevin Stefanski to give up the play call.
Complete cosign.
And it's not even because I think Ken Dorsey's some sort of play calling genius.
Not even close.
He needs to focus on the timeouts and the clock management.
Because he can't do both.
He is struggling mightily right now, and we'll never know, but it may have cost this team the game the last 2 weeks.
And let's face it.
There's no excuse for
At
that.
the end of the season, you usually miss the playoffs. I'm not saying that they're going to miss it by 1 game this year.
Yeah.
But you usually, 1 game makes a difference for a lot of teams.
No doubt.
And we potentially,
Yeah.
we at least, you can say this, we kept ourselves from giving ourselves another chance to win
right.
the game.
That's right. You in theory could have had 30 to 40 seconds, no timeout, sure, but you probably have the ball around midfield, maybe your own 40. Again, they didn't have a 50% chance of winning the game.
No.
It might have only been like a 5% chance.
Better than
but
zero.
You can't leave yourself with zero.
It's the same thing with throwing the ball. You probably got a 3% chance of completing a throw up.
Right, but it's
throw
better
the ball
than zero.
up. Maybe you get a pass interference
You
penalty.
never
You
know.
don't know.
Maybe the ball gets tipped up in the air and somebody else
with
catches
all of
it.
that being said, and I agree with you, the use of the timeout there was, they were saying it on the broadcast in real time.
Yeah.
Ross Tucker was like,
Yeah.
oh, I really wish they wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody at home was saying the same
What are you
thing,
doing?
but he's lost in the play calling soup. But I'll say this, as bad as that was, and
Yeah.
it was bad, you scored on your first possession a touchdown.
Yeah.
On your second possession, a field goal. Now, how many chances did they have to score points the rest of the game? 10 drives?
Yeah.
Nothing. Zero. To me, as bad as the timeout was, Bull, and it was awful.
Yeah.
What I've seen from Kevin Stefanski this year with the play calling, and I don't make decisions week to week. I tend to do it within the season quarterly. We're at the quarter pole.
We are.
I've seen enough. I've seen enough. You're not doing it. You're not getting it done. Now, it might just at the end of the day be this. His play calling philosophy suits a quarterback that is not Deshaun Watson's play set, skill set. The reason I say that is because last year, everyone thought season was over. He was given a slow, immobile quarterback, and look what he did with them. But I don't think this is a good marriage, but we're stuck with Watson. We can't divorce Watson. So Kevin Stefanski needs to hand over the play calling. Yeah. Let's see what Dorsey can do. Who knows what happens?
Yeah. I think, to me, I would even go a step further and say I don't agree with that. What I see in Kevin Stefanski, everybody out there, let me know in the chat, which year was Kevin Stefanski's offense explosive, dynamic, top 5, oh my goodness, we're going to blow the doors off these people? What year was this mythical playbook? Like, in what year? Like, we were okay. It's very...
2020 was their best offense with Kevin Stefanski.
It was varying degrees.
It wasn't top 5, but it was their best.
It was their best. And they...
Hell, at times last year we looked pretty damn good.
But they established was, when it comes to playing the best teams, it don't work.
No.
So they had to make a change. So my thing is, if you had to make a change, Kevin, you hire Dorsey. Let him do his job.
Let him go. Let him have it.
And you concentrate on everything. Right now, your team looks lackluster. Right now, the defense has regressed. You need to be in the defensive room figuring out what's with that. Right now, you're the most penalized team. Right now, you're the most undisciplined team. Your offensive line is in shambles.
Look at their third down conversion, guys.
The run game.
They picked up 3 first downs yesterday on third down.
Right.
I think it's under 4 every single game.
Yeah, they're the worst.
The conversion. I think it's 2, 3, and 4 or something like that.
And I'll give you the analogy. It's just like, you got a buddy and he just got a new house, right? And he got the flat screens, the big screens downstairs in his man cave. He got the beer coolers. His man's man cave is decked out, the video games. But yet and still, all around his other house, the floors ain't done. The cabinets is looking shabby. You need new flooring in the kitchen. You need to rip that nasty carpet up. And on top of it, your roof is leaking. But he keeps inviting you down to come hang out in the doggone basement. You're like, bro, that's cool. The basement is cool. But what about the rest of it, dog? Kevin, the play calling, I know you want to call it. I know that's what you like to do. But your job is so much more than looking at that play sheet, Bull. There's more. Yeah. When I watch this team, and we can agree on and disagree on whose fault is it, the biggest problem I see, it seems like there is no soul. When the quarterback's getting knocked down, I don't see linemen saying, dang, that was on me. I'm supposed to pick him back up. I don't see guys, Amari Cooper is letting the ball go over his shoulder pass. And what happened to the defense that was P.J. Walker and say, yo, we got to make these stops?
Well, the defense is coming up. By the way, I got
defense has played okay. Not great, not top 5. But middle of the league,
One more thing on Stefanski, though, before we get to the defense.
11 third down conversions for this entire season.
Oh, gosh.
11.
That's less than 3 a game.
Less than 3 a game.
One other thing, and I'm curious if you guys agree or not. Towards the end of the first half, and I understand looking back at the end of the game, you say, well, Hopkins missed that extra point, which
Yeah.
I'll give him. Not that I'll give him a pass, but he's been so good.
He has.
Overall,
But
you
it's
trust
typical.
him.
It's
But
like
just-
in the
but-
spot, in the one spot you have to have
But
it.
you got to make it.
You got to make it.
But
But what I don't understand is he lets him kick a 56-yard field goal, makes it easy in the first half.
Right.
And then a little while later, he didn't let him kick a 57-yarder and they punted. I didn't understand that.
I don't know. I don't get it either. I know
Yeah.
he didn't want to give the Raiders that kind of field
I know,
position.
but that shows like a lack of confidence in your defense.
It does.
He usually plays with a lot of guts and a lot of. And I thought he played real conservative there. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
He
It's,
just seems off, and they are way. They're just a
What are
bad
the
football
odds?
team
So we
right
all
now.
agree that
Yeah.
it should happen. And I think if you took a poll of the fans, they would want to see a different look.
Absolutely.
But now we also have to remember he's two-time Coach of the Year, and I know that we put certain stock
me,
in that.
that's way overrated.
I know. But
Yeah.
but his peers said twice, "You're it." Now I think last year he did it more for holding the troops together in the face of unbelievable quarterback injury. He held it together, and I think he got a lot of points for that. Made the playoffs, but what are the chances this actually happens? Because Kevin's not going to give it up on his own. It's going to have to come from one of the following people. Andrew Berry, who I believe is just a puppet. I don't think he has much power at all in the organization. I have determined that the guy with all the juice is DePodesta. And I believe that Haslam could also force a change.
Yeah.
So what are the chances that the word comes from the ivory tower, Kevin, we want to see what Ken can do as a play caller.
The season is going to have to be almost, and that's the
Why
scary
wait
part.
till it's over?
That's the scary
At 1-3,
part.
it's not completely over.
But that's the Browns thing. They are quick. They are very slow to pivot on stuff that should be. When these other teams do it, they're like, oh, this ain't working, boom.
Well, for context, they're having this conversation in Jacksonville. The Jags have inexplicably lost 9 of their last 10. By the way, it's our only win. Trevor Lawrence has lost 9 games in a row. Trevor Lawrence. That's unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
He was anointed 2 seasons ago
as,
he's made it, he's arrived. It was Urban Meyer that screwed him up. Mm-hmm. Now he looks awful. He looks like he doesn't even belong in the league now. They're having that conversation in Jacksonville, but it's taken 10 games to get there. It's only been the last 5 that the Browns really have looked awful on offense. So I don't know. I'm not sure if
I don't see it happening,
yet.
unfortunately. I really wish Kevin, who seems like such a smart guy, would be reflective, self-reflective, and say, this is not working. I need to do something different. I'd give him a lot of credit for that.
So do you think it's possible?
I think it's unlikely.
It's unlikely, and that's that level of apathy that you have, because we went through a whole year where we didn't have defensive tackles, and the organization said we don't need those.
But doesn't it feel like we're getting ready for a gentleman's punt?
Oh no! Oh, listen. Why do you think I'm so angry? Like right now, everything about the Cleveland Browns says, oh. This one didn't work. We'll see you next year, guys.
And by the way, you got to play Washington next week. And they look great the last 2 weeks on offense. He's
Jake
completed
Daniels
like 90% of his passes.
He has
the last
6
2 weeks.
incompletions in his last 2 games.
Yeah.
6.
Good luck.
This guy is absolutely unbelievable.
He's been incredible these last 2 weeks.
And we get him next.
And you thought
you know what? That was going to be the easiest game on our schedule.
Yeah. I mean, the Browns could easily be 1-4 in the start of the schedule that we thought would be favorable for them.
Hate to tip my hand on this already, but they're 1-4.
This team, that game lost to the Raiders, given what the Raiders did the week prior, given the fact that they were without their best 2 players, given the fact that they had 2 rookies starting up front, given the fact that we're one of the worst rushing teams in the league and you gave up 150, that was one of the worst games I've ever seen, ever, as watching Cleveland Browns.
The Raiders on the season.
Ever.
In their first 3 games, had 153 yards rushing. Yesterday, they had 152.
And with no threat of Davante Adams.
And with no threat of their their wide receiver.
Man, they made Northeast Ohio's own Trey Tucker look
like
a
a superstar.
Yeah.
He really did.
He's fast, though.
He's got great wheels.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys, before we get too much more into the defense, I'll remind you, if you're looking to go to any of these Browns games, Game Time is the place to go. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It's the perfect place to go for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. You can even get a panoramic view of your seat before you buy the ticket. All you have to do is download Game Time, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but just create your account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Guys, what time is it? It's Game Time.
Game time.
So they didn't have either of their best players, especially Davante Adams, and our defense still wasn't able to give us a great game. Let's get into the defense, guys.
You see, Jay, I know you said they played middle of the road and they haven't given up a crazy amount of points. I think the defense has been bad, frankly.
But below the middle?
I do, because if you think about it, look who they've played.
Yeah, that factors in.
You faced a good quarterback in
Jacksonville,
Dak.
the Giants, the Raiders.
Those are three severely handicapped offenses.
You're right.
And they haven't put up massive points, but they put up enough.
And it was easy.
Yeah. It was easy.
It was easy.
And here's what we know about the Browns' defensive line.
Thank you. Talk to
Nobody's any good besides Miles.
That's it.
Now,
thank you.
You know
Thank
what?
you.
It's the
Thank
same.
you.
It's the
Thank
same
you.
pile of garbage we had 4 years ago.
Yep.
With different names on it.
It's a little bit. I would say it's a little better, but they are all the best of the rest. Is maybe an average player.
I thought we were watching the Falcons game from last year.
I mean,
do you remember that?
Yeah.
Or 2 years ago, whenever that was. When they just, every play, 12 yards, 12 yards, 12 yards, 12 yards.
You're getting smoked by
Alexander
Daniel
Madison?
Jones, Alexander. Look at the players. In the last 2 weeks, outside of Malik Neighbors, the Giants and the Raiders have nobody special on offense.
I didn't know who they were.
Not quarterbacks, not running backs, not wide receivers. Malik Neighbors is the only guy the last 2 weeks. And yet both of those teams
went nuts.
Moved the ball up and down on the field.
They moved the ball a lot, but they didn't. The end result was they didn't score a lot of points.
That's true, because they're not very good, right? Ultimately.
Yeah.
But the Browns, when Myles Garrett is not on the field, they got nothing.
It's 10 yards.
Listen, I know
he's
a lot
on a pitch count.
I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. But to me, because when you look at the statistics, T.J. Watt's always going to be a little ahead of Myles Garrett. In my mind, it's not close between those two players. I don't think it's close between Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt.
You think Myles is better?
I think he's way better. Wow. I don't think it's close. Myles Garrett has played in a mostly dysfunctional franchise with
no help,
no talent around him on the D-line.
Ever.
Whereas, T.J. Watt's a great player. He's a great player.
Yeah, I have a problem
Myles
with you saying
Garrett
it's not even close, though.
It's just my opinion. Listen, my opinion.
I get it.
Myles Garrett to me is on another stratosphere, and I've kind of fully realized it this year. I finally got hip to it. Because he has no help, and T.J. Watt has great help.
And he
hobbled. Has every year.
He's visibly hobbled on a pitch count.
Yeah.
And he still gave you that production. And thank you for saying it. Zadarius Smith, you're a steak eater. Dalvin Tomlinson, Maurice Hurst,
Are they still on the
Shelby
team?
Harris.
Are they even on the team?
No impact whatsoever.
They were invisible.
Alex Wright, listen, man.
His penalty yesterday.
This is what I'm talking about.
That was awful.
And this is the problem when people say ticky-tack. Last week it was Greg Newsome. And we said that cost you an interception when the Giants could have been out of that game.
That's right.
Yep.
You got to pick inside your territory. You could go up 17-0. Guess what you do, Greg Newsome? You run up there and put your hands on the quarterback's face. Alex Wright, don't run to the sideline and say, "What did I do?"
Yeah.
And that's once again, it's discipline and it's coaching. When you didn't chew Greg Newsome out for doing it, then Alex Wright, another player, says, "Well, that's acceptable."
Yeah.
So now you give them 15 yards. You basically give them points because you're being selfish.
What don't you get?
How do you?
What don't you?
I know
get?
that was as disturbing to me as the penalty itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a penalty 100 times out of 100.
Every time. I understand the complaints about the ticky-tack on the hold. I found that a little frustrating too.
Right.
But sorry, folks.
It's a
Did
penalty.
you just wake up today?
It's a
Every
textbook
time
penalty.
you hit the helmet, it's a penalty.
100%.
End of conversation.
Why are you diving at the ball's out? That's what I call fake hustle. Don't fake hustle. If you didn't get there, you were there late, line up, snap the ball again. The defense missed tackles. I mean, are we back in 2015 with the missed tackles? I mean, guys are he's giving them cushion 10 yards. I don't know what that defensive wrinkle was.
No, I don't either. That was awful.
Give the guys 10 yards and play off of them.
Where did that even come from?
I've never seen the Browns play defense like that. And Martin Emerson,
Oh my God. He's been horrific.
Martin Emerson runs like a veteran linebacker. Like that man. Listen, he looks like he looks like he got arthritis. He looks like it hurts when he walks. You wake up and he like, dang, my arthritis is getting to me.
I don't know about you guys.
Golly, Martin Emerson.
But to me, the Browns have 4 players on defense.
There you go. Talk to him.
Miles,
yep.
JOK, Ward, and Delpit.
That's it. That's it.
Everybody else has done nothing the whole season.
I said this last week. I'll repeat it because it was obvious at watching the game on Sunday. Teams are built from the line out. Good teams. If you don't have serviceable lines, it doesn't matter. All the other bells and whistles you have can't show off their talent because either if you're a quarterback, you don't have time to throw, or if it's flipped on the other side and you've got no offensive line. How do you run the ball? How do you run the ball? It doesn't matter who you have running the ball or who your wide receivers are. You can't run block and you can't pass block. And on the defensive side, if you're letting the quarterback back there with all day to throw, he's going to find open guys. And if you can't tackle at the point of attack, that's an 8-yard gain every time.
They can't tackle.
It was, and I think this has been a sobering thing. This is very sobering. Is right or wrongly, I think we've talked about the quarterback position in this town for 7 straight years, hyper-focused on it. And while we were hyper-focused on these quarterbacks, we forgot that trench warfare is the name of the game.
That's where you win.
And your offensive line, the good ones got old, and the ones you thought was supposed to be something wasn't. And we found out and woke up and rolled over and found out the only guy we still got up front is Myles Garrett. And we keep saying, how many years do we say we need somebody opposite Myles Garrett? And we still ain't got
it. Hit me late in the game yesterday, even before it was out of reach. But when it felt like they're not going to make a play. That's just not who they are. It hit me again. I thought this a couple times during Myles Garrett's career. We are Joe Thomasing him.
Fully.
I think he's going to ask for a trade at the end of the season.
Fully. I wouldn't blame him.
If he stood up tomorrow and said, I want out, I could never blame him.
No.
I blame the Browns for not putting the pieces around him to get this man where he belongs, the Super Bowl.
And really quick, the scary part about it is, Earl did a podcast earlier this year. He said, Myles Garrett is the next guy up to get an extension. Why haven't they extended him yet? And the scary part about it is Myles Garrett might not be asking for the extension because he don't want to be extended here.
He's going to.
And without Myles Garrett,
I would not blame him.
They're not a good defense. I mean,
No, listen.
Captain
Obvious. Without
Obvious.
Myles Garrett, they're atrocious.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to,
I mean, you're taking. And that blows me away. Maxx Crosby's not on the field. Not on the field.
Davante,
they rushed. Like, if you didn't know he wasn't playing, you would have thought he was playing.
I actually thought the Browns' offensive line played better this week than last week. Overall.
Well, they did, but that's not saying much.
No, but I think DeJuan Jones was so bad that it made it look even worse.
Is it out of shape? Is it lack of effort?
Yeah.
What is it?
He was on the Adam the Bull diet this offseason, which is just eat everything. I mean, that's what he was.
And this is a bigger, and I said this.
What do you think he weighs?
Over
400.
430. About 430.
Yeah.
He's about 4. Yeah.
When you're our size, you know when a guy's over 400.
That's a special jersey. Yeah. That's a special jersey.
They get that. They make that at
the,
the awning and tent company.
Yeah, like that. That's a special jersey.
That's
like
a Destination XL special right there.
And the problem overall is, and this is the scary thing, and I was breaking this down on my podcast, is that when you drill down on Bill Callahan, and it's not just that he's not there to be on the guys or technique. What Kevin Stefanski did essentially is the reason why he hired Bill Callahan is because he had a rare skill set. He's the only coordinator and position coach that was a former head coach, called his plays, also was a former coach on a college level, and his specialty was offensive line. So what he was able to do is he was able to give him the responsibilities of being the run game coordinator.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
That
You're
took
right.
half off the plate. And when
Yeah.
you say run game coordinator, what you're saying to him is saying he's the architect of the not just the skill and how to go about doing it. He's drawing up the schematics of it. Okay, we want to run an outside zone play. Well, how do you want to do that? Do you want your tight end to go to the next level? Do you
Right.
want to double team? Do
Right.
you want to zone? Do you want to pull?
And that's gone.
And that is completely gone. So when you say the running game don't look good, well, that's because we got to ask Kevin, who took over for that?
Yeah.
Who did you assimilate that too?
Is that Dorsey?
Is that who's
the
the
new
run
O-line coach?
Who's the run game coordinator?
Hey, did we release Foreman before the game?
He just didn't.
We
even-
must have, right?
He don't.
By
get
the way, on the offensive
Don't touch us.
line and the offense in general, I think I mentioned this briefly, but I'm not sure it was the day you guys might have been out. Did I tell you I had Ron Rivera on my podcast this week?
No.
I saw that.
Okay, thank you. So Ron
I'll be
Rivera
watching.
was on. It was a really good. He was really good. I enjoyed talking to him, and I asked him about Bill Callahan because obviously he knows him. And he said, I asked him like, how much do you think the offensive line struggles? He said certainly that's part of it. There's no doubt that Bill Callahan's gone. He's like the veterans. They know what they got to do. Blah blah blah. Here's what he said. I didn't really think about this, and I thought this was a brilliant point by Ron Rivera. He said that when you look at Kevin Stefanski, what is he? He's mild-mannered. He's kind of like, he doesn't get angry, at least not outwardly.
Right.
He's a player's coach, right? He's Bill Callahan was the coach of the only coach they had on offense that got into guys' faces and let them know. You know what I mean? Like, he was the tough ass on that offense.
Yeah.
And you need that balance. The head coach is
Yes,
kind of,
you got to.
more softer spoken.
CEO.
And the O-line coach is like, bah, bah, bah. Well, he's like, the Browns don't have that this year. They don't have that tough ass on the offense.
And you know what?
You got
It shows-
Vrabel, but he's not really he's not working really with the offense.
This has to be Vrabel has to be gutted by what he's watching.
Oh, God.
Because what we're seeing a lot of this lack of effort,
Yeah.
giving up, no guts, no hustle, no hard ass, no like. Where is the dog on either side of the ball? Where is the guy that you don't want to run into? And I know that you say that T.J. Watt is below, but at least T.J. Watt has heart and hustle, and it spreads through the defense.
They got Hayward.
Like, I need to see somebody on the defense getting in his teammates' faces. I loved what Deshaun Watson did yesterday.
Yeah.
That's long overdue.
Well, because the Steelers have that with Mike Tomlin, and that's the
Yes.
culture in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
You don't F around. You don't get away with that.
And I don't want to take us too far off the beaten path, but
Yeah.
there was a fascinating thing going on yesterday in the Tampa Bay game in which earlier in the week, Baker made some comments about, hey, you know what? Nobody had fun when Tom Brady was here. And I love what Tom Brady did in the broadcast. It might be through the weeds. Maybe everybody missed it.
I heard it.
Tom Brady kicked into competitive mode again. He
Yeah.
goes, let me tell you something, Baker.
Yeah.
I'm not here for fun. You know what stressful is? Not having Super Bowl rings.
I love those comments.
I thought, finally, Tom Brady, it took him getting
Let's
called
go.
out
That's right.
by someone whose game he was calling that week
Yeah.
for him to show the Tom Brady I want to see.
That's right.
He was 100% right. This isn't a cruise.
Yeah.
We're not here to have fun.
We're not dancing and singing with Steve.
Who cares? And you know what? Every Tampa Bay Buccaneer that may have bitched to Baker about we didn't have fun when Tom was here,
Yeah.
they've all got a Super Bowl ring.
That's right. And they don't have it without Tom.
They do not have it without
That's
Tom.
right. Because they had just won 8 games the year before
It's
or
just
whatever it was.
incredible to me
Yeah.
how, and I hate painting with a broad brush, but this generation, these 20-somethings, they want to have a good time, man. They want to have fun. They want to go on vacation. They want to post it on the gram. They want to show everybody what they got.
It don't.
But they don't want to work for anything, and all of a sudden, it's like, well, nobody in the locker room had fun.
They don't have.
It was stressful.
The
Yeah, it's a high-pressure job. You're making millions of dollars. There should be stress.
The self-awareness thing is a problem, and for everyone talking about Deshaun Watson's millions and millions. Listen, guys, they're all richer than we're ever gonna be. Just chalk that up. But one thing that you got to get to is the most disappointing part about it. And I don't know if they had this grown man conversation with him, but they might need to have the conversation with Amari Cooper and say, listen, Amari, it didn't work out the way you thought it was supposed to. and you've been a professional your entire career. We had a tough negotiation. You may not have gotten what you think you deserve. And sometimes, that doesn't work out for both sides at the end of the day. But what we need you to do is we need you to lock in. Not saying you ain't locked in. I'm not going to accuse you of that. But we need Amari Cooper to be Amari Cooper. We can't win football games if you're not actively a part of what we're doing. And right now, he looks mentally checked out.
Yeah.
He just does. And you can't. And look, Jerry Jeudy came and talked about how big that was for him to come here because he looked up to Amari Cooper and like Amari Cooper was that dude. And
I know.
And so when you ain't pulling the ball in, and I like what Ross Tucker said. Well, maybe it's time to start going to look for Jerry Jeudy instead of Amari Cooper because we can't have you do that. Because when you do that, it encourages other people to say it's not that big of a deal. And I'm telling you, when you be in these locker rooms and you put that much work into it, you are there looking out for your other teammates, man. Like we're on a show here, right? Like if I didn't bring it every day, or Jay didn't bring it, or Bull didn't bring it, it don't just hurt me. It hurt everybody. The producers can't talk. What's Steve gonna say back there? I gotta bring it. Everybody gotta do their job. And right now, there's so many people not doing their job, and there's no accountability from the head guy saying
that's fair.
There needs to be consequences. If you jump off sides, bring them off the field and sit them. It ain't doing. We've 1-3 anyway. What's the worst that's gonna hurt, Jay?
No, I agree with that 100%. And Bull, to your point, I know I bring it up, the 2-time Coach of the Year, but if you look at the last 4, I mean, obviously Stefanski's been in there twice, but Vrabel was the Coach of the Year, I think, the year before. He's out of a job.
Bye.
Oftentimes, these guys get fired within a year or two.
Coaches
because the NFL is not for long. I mean,
what's his name, who's now with Jacksonville, win Coach of the Year in Philly?
And he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Peterson.
Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
Now, he's on the hot seat.
Sure.
Sirianni was considered a genius 2 years ago. Now,
oh, God.
He's got to be on the hot seat.
Listen, if you listen to Philly Talk Radio,
oh my God, I can't even imagine.
They want to hang him by his feet over the football stadium and let him die there. They're done with him.
Crazy.
Amari Cooper, guys.
Before you get further on Amari Cooper, did you have to jump in, Anthony?
He was
you
saying
guys
we
can
can
keep
go
going
with
with
this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Fine.
Like this, I would have never foresaw this. Out of anybody, I would have never foresaw that.
Well, you know what? We asked the question when Amari came out and tweeted, I would have been fine with the trade. I texted Mike that day and I said, tomorrow we got to ask, is this going to affect Amari Cooper's play? And I was concerned about it, but everybody else was like, no, he's a pro.
It's crazy.
And you guys kind of talked me into that.
Yeah.
But this is not Amari Cooper. Now, then he goes and gets open on an 82-yard touchdown pass, and you're like, okay, that's the guy. But the drops in crucial spots, that's not who he is.
It's hard to believe.
The body language, the apathetic play.
I think that's it. I think it's subconscious. He's not saying, I think I'm going to drop this ball. That's not what he's saying. His mind isn't in Cleveland. And listen, I cannot blame him. During that entire Ayuk situation, why was it that more information was getting out of Cleveland's camp than Pittsburgh and New England? Why was it that, and look, that's a button-up problem. There's too many people that know about that trade. Good organizations never let that stuff get out, because if it gets out and the trade falls through, now you got a disgruntled employee on your hands. Same thing happened with Baker.
By the way,
all of the stuff with Deshaun Watson was out in public.
To that point, as critical as I am at ownership for not spending money, and will remain critical, the Guardians' trades rarely come out. Like, their trades are usually surprises.
Listen, because their front office is buttoned up.
Yeah.
They're not talking to the media relations guy about it. They've got a circle of trust, whether it's 2 or 3 people, and that's the way it should be, and you have to understand that you can't let that get out. Yet it's reported widely that Amari Cooper's part of the deal.
That being said, though, you got to be a pro if you're Amari Cooper.
I get that, but Bull, and again, I'm not saying he's doing this intentionally.
I know.
Here's what he said when the news flash came up on his TV that Amari Cooper's part of the trade talks. The second that happens, go back to junior high. You hear about your girlfriend is talking to someone else. You're done.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't work out for her and him, and now she comes back to you, you're done.
I don't know about you, Jay. I wasn't getting any action in junior high. Look at Jay. Got a girlfriend in junior
Okay,
high.
let's say high school. Let's say high school.
No.
You know,
Well, I'm embarrassed to admit I was getting no action in high school.
When
either.
when they give up on you,
Yeah.
typically you're like, you're lost. I'm gone. I'm done.
Hey, no.
And
like,
he even tweeted as much, and the guy
Yeah.
doesn't tweet.
That's true.
here's
That's fair.
Once again, I got to put it in an analogy. It's just like, look, say we sit here on the show, and they say, yo, we got, you know, UCSS get all the free agents. Somebody walk in out of nowhere, and they be like, oh, we paying him twice than everybody that work here.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
They like, what the heck? What the heck?
And that's why there are certain things that, from management, you just got to hold tight to. And you don't share them with other people that are going to sink the ship with loose lips.
Because what'll happen is the perception is, and this is the truth, you equate in business how somebody feel about you, not by what they say, by what they pay. And so when you get Jerry Jeudy that comes in,
That too, yeah.
and they give him a deal, sight unseen.
When he's done nothing.
Nothing.
And then you sit here
It was
and you
all for
say-
potential.
You said, okay, I ain't gonna trip. I'm not gonna lose it. But then you sit back and say, well, I know they're gonna take care of me when I go to the negotiation table. And then you get there, and then the number they slide to you is grossly under what you think you're worth. Then you start thinking, you look around, dang, Justin Jefferson got it. Jamar Chase got it. Dang, these dudes is just re-upping every single week. Where's my money? And then they give you that offer, and that offer is like, not only is it not what you want, it don't have no long-term security. It's basically like, yeah, you're done after this.
It's a bridge to get to you so they can release you after next year or trade you.
And then in your mind at that point, you saying, so you mean to tell me I put up these numbers with P.J. Walker, DTR, Deshaun Watson with a bad shoulder, and Flacco? Not
And
only
this is what I get?
is what I get, and I did it. When everybody else was hurt, I was hurt too. I could have had surgery, and I didn't get a number.
Meantime, you went out and got a guy that was being thrown to by Russell Wilson and put up not great numbers, and you paid him like you're like, wow, I think they've got these contracts switched.
And
Cooper should have got the good deal, and
Jerry Jeudy
should have got the Cooper deal.
The 1 year prove it. So he's sitting there, and you got to also take into consideration the baggage that you bring into certain things. When he was he was a first round draft pick for the Raiders. Raiders gave up on him. We'll trade him. He went to Dallas. Was the number one receiver. They basically said, you're washed. We're going to bring in CeeDee Lamb. That's our guy. You're done. We'll trade you for a 5th round pick. So you have a complex after a certain while, like, you know what? I put up numbers. I've been quiet. I don't say nothing. I just come to work, do my job, and this is what you think of me. So, yeah, I can see where it is. I always said this too, Bull, and this is the last thing I'll say. The Browns are handing out money like it's candy. They handing Wyatt Teller new money. Jack Conklin got new money. They done restructured Jerry Jeudy. Deshaun Watson get a brand new upload of money every single year.
Njoku.
David Njoku done got paid. JOK just got Grant Delpit got something. The kicker got, and you telling me.
You get a contract. You get a contract.
And-
you get a contract. Cooper gets trade talks.
And you got the most cap in the world. Even if you know you overpaying somebody, sometimes you just pay so they can act right. Go ahead and give them a couple extra million. We don't want no problems. When you always have if an employee,
A happy employee is a good employee.
if an employee think that they ain't getting paid enough or they being disrespected, they're going to corrupt at least 2 to 3 other guys. It's better to overpay.
Does he get traded?
They can't afford to.
If they lose their next 2 games, he does.
Yeah, well, if they
I don't think they're going to do it right now.
See, I know that we don't have time today. This is for a topic for later in the week. But the topic is, at what point is this season a wash?
Oh, Lord.
And when you look at the next 4, not Washington, really the next 5.
Although Philly looks terrible, too.
Philly looks beatable.
Yeah.
But if by some crazy look, they can beat the Browns. The Browns don't look any better than they do.
Yeah.
Man.
If they lose 4 of the next 5, the season is officially over.
Oh, yeah. I think if they lose the next 2, it's over.
I think so
At
too.
1 and 5,
I mean, you can't go 1 and 5 and make the playoffs.
No.
Not in this division. Especially when the Ravens look like the Ravens again and the Bengals offense looks like the Bengals offense again. It's unthinkable to me
I can't
that
do
this
that.
season could be over by Halloween.
I can't
But
do
we're
that.
staring that straight down the barrel.
Jay.
And at what point, and I don't even know what you do in terms of gathering resources, but we finally have our first-round draft pick again, finally.
Although I just read this morning from Jim Nagy, who runs the Senior Bowl.
Yeah,
He said it.
Quality of draft.
Yeah, quality of draft is not great.
It's not deep.
No.
Not deep.
But, by the way, if the Browns are like 1-5, 1-6, something like that,
Do you start playing for the one?
well, beyond that, I'm saying there's going to be teams calling about Myles Garrett that will give up a lot. And I don't know what they'll do in that scenario, but
Is that something? Do you take those calls, G? If you're 1-6, are you literally you put Chubb in mothballs, you get whatever you can for Myles Garrett, and you start looking at a rebuild? Are you there yet?
I can't.
I know. I don't know
it's
how
hard
many
to
of those
wrap
I
your
can
head
go
around that
through.
right at this point.
Like y'all gotta understand. That's why I be mad.
Imagine being 59.
But,
Do you know how many of those I've seen?
That-
now having to think, because you talk 3 or 4 or 5 years away.
Yeah, Jay.
Like I'm running out of ticks.
Like because
It's getting late early out here, bull.
No. Like I told somebody the hard part about it is, and that's why I get so upset is, we lost a lot of, I take calls from a lot of people, and we do shows, and people reach out to you and fans and stuff, and in radio you start to hear the regulars reach out less and less. They're less active, and then you get news, oh, so and so passed away, or so and so got sick, and he's not really in shape to be able to watch the games and stuff, and then it's just like you realize how many people that we losing in the fandom that
we'll never see it.
That just want to just see the Browns even get there one time. And every time you reset the clock and you start talking about drafting quarterbacks, it's like, well, there goes another
I know.
generation.
How many rebuilds do you have left? By the way, Dikembe Mutombo passed. 58.
Wow.
He did?
Yeah, he did.
When did this happen this morning?
Today.
Wow.
Brain cancer, I believe.
God.
When you see someone, and you guys haven't really, you may have experienced it a time or two.
Yes.
But when you're of a number,
Yeah.
59, and you see someone that is etched in your memory as being
Young,
vital and young and
vibrant.
strong, and they die and they're younger than you, it grabs a hold of you.
It messed
and
me
makes
up all
you
the
realize tomorrow's not guaranteed. Not for any of us on this panel. It's just not. And so when you start thinking about the possibility of another teardown, another rebuild, and when have we ever gotten those right?
Right.
And will the next one be the one that we get right? And by the way, on the Paul DePodesta front, and I know you're entrenched in analytics, but and I'm a believer in analytics, but it's not the Bible. Here's the danger of using that as your Bible to build a franchise. All of the data that Paul DePodesta has been using to build his version of the Super Bowl champion, it's all changed. It's the first time in over 20 years that it is proven to be more effective to run the ball inside the red zone than it is to throw it. First time in more than 20 years.
Yeah.
So when you use this information, and remember,
But the information is constantly changing.
and that's my point.
Yeah, sure.
It's like baseball, Bull.
Yeah.
It's like I was talking to some folks with the Guardians over there Friday. I think I went over there, and I'm like, what? I'm asking around. What happened to Stephen Kwan? What happened to Stephen Kwan? He was at a 400 level. He was at clearly an all-star. What happened? He didn't adjust to the league's adjustments. Period.
Yeah.
That pretty much was what guys were saying. So sports at this level is constant ebb and flow, constant. So if you're banking on data from the past to tell you what will be successful in the future, you are going down the wrong road. I think there's value in it, but I see coaches going for it on fourth down because the analytics tells them to. Again, analytics.
Well, how do we know why they're going for it? We don't know that that's always the reason.
Mostly it is. When you talk to the head coaches, and we've got 2 of them in our division that are Mr. Fourth Down, let's go. They'll tell you, well, the numbers show that you're supposed to go. My point with analytics is understand that you're using data from the past to try to predict the future. That's fine if nothing changes. But everything changes.
But what's the alternative?
The alternative,
I think he's good.
Gut.
I mean,
gut. I watched
that's
this play in practice all week long. They can't stop it.
But that's not a perfect.
But I'm not looking at a chart to tell me 37.3% of the time they do stop it.
I don't buy that any team does 100% one or the other.
I agree with you,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying the danger in going all in and using that as a Bible. You know what? Linebackers aren't important anymore because it's a passing league, and so we're going to go with light, fast linebackers that can cover tight ends. That's great. But just like Stephen Kwan was hitting everything in May and June, and then the pitchers were looking at what he was hitting and then started throwing him what he wasn't hitting, he's got to make the adjustment.
I think what you're saying is, right now on the cusp of where we're at today, you're in the middle of seeing things change.
Oh, it's changed. It's changing.
The quarterback, what you're expecting him to do, the output, the production, what throws he's going to make. Now, to be truthful, if people are zigging, I would zag at this point.
That's exactly
I
right.
would say, look, I'm going to stock up on big linemen. I'm going to run the football. I'm going to have 2 good running backs. And we're going to make all them small guys that you thought was going to be in here because we're passing, we're going to make you tackle.
We're undersized. As a football team, we're undersized.
Browns are also a slow team. They don't have great team speed.
Painfully slow.
And things will. And listen, offenses are going to readjust too.
They're
paying these quarterbacks a ton of money. They want to get production out of them.
They
and
do.
there are some quarterbacks being productive, but yes,
they're the outliers.
Through a quarter of the season, we've seen a reemergence of the run game. Defenses.
Sam Darnold is like leading the league in some categories.
Yeah,
no.
but that has nothing to do with bad quarterback play. He's playing well.
No, I know.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, it's funny to me.
Yeah.
He wasn't good against the old defenses, but suddenly he's great.
He could do it against this.
He's great for 4 weeks. We've seen plenty of guys be great for 4 weeks.
Right, but Jaden Daniels is another guy. Like, okay, you're the outlier. He's missed 6 passes in his last 70 attempts.
Yeah.
Like, rookies don't do that. He's had the most successful rookie month ever at the quarterback position.
You got to read Anthony?
Go ahead, Anthony.
I do.
All right.
Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats and view live play-by-play and so much more on the same exact page that you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com/UCSS. Never waste a hunch and make money every moment with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Remember, we'll be going out to, I was going to say Berea.
Right.
Going out, where are the Browns? The Cavs in Independence?
Independence.
Yeah. So they're out in Independence, and Mikey McNuggets is out there, and Jason Lloyd's out there, and they'll talk with Kobe Altman.
So, Bull, they have actually already interviewed Kobe Altman.
Okay.
Our live hits are up in the air, but we'll get you guys live content today. After 12:30 is our window. As it comes, Mike and I are working on it right now. But for right now, we're going to stay with the Browns. And you guys mentioned Foreman earlier, who had 4 carries for 2 yards yesterday. It seems our run game is absolutely non-existent, and I'm wondering, who's to blame? Is it not in the game plan with Stefanski? Is it in the offensive line? Or is it in these running backs just not being able to produce?
I think it's all of the above.
I agree.
Nothing. Now, Jerome Ford had a nice run on that last drive.
He did.
He broke
did.
a tackle. It was funny because Jason had texted Mike and I and said, Jerome Ford never breaks tackles. And then on that play, he did a good job. He broke that tackle, and that was a great run.
Yeah, it was.
Unfortunately, on the next play, they snap it too early with Nick Harris, and the drive falls apart. But that was a great run. But outside of that, they had the offensive line had no push. The running backs are not particularly good. And, early in the game, they were running the ball, and then they kind of went away from it, which – listen, they need you need to be balanced right now with the way the NFL is playing and the Browns' inability to hold up in pass blocking. They need to be more balanced, but it's tough when you can't run block and you don't have particularly good running backs. It's a bad situation.
Who are you? For me, I always liked up front. I always liked when I'm running my zone plays, running duo plays, what I want to do is if I got bigger offensive linemen, what I want to do is empower them to fire off the football, get downhill, and use double teams to get to the next level. Sometimes when you're doing single blocking, when you're just trying to have guys reach guys, you got people that the smaller linebackers are like JOK. it's a different game. Linebackers are not going to engage with your guards. They're going to play basketball in a phone booth. You can't guard them because they're athletes, and they're much lighter, much quicker, and all those moves and different things destroy the play in the backfield because they're not engaging. So what do you have to do? You have to move the first layer of the defensive line by double teaming at the point of attack, and then wherever the linebacker declares, take them that way. Then you let the running back cut off of that. You let your running back have the vision to say, I'm going to read where, hey, you hear? I'm going to cut the other way. You cut off those things and you can get some nice movement up front and you can make guys miss. Another thing is, it's very difficult to run the ball out of shotgun. You just don't have the level of leverage when you're in a 2-point stance.
I agree with that.
You just don't. And it's difficult for you to get a level of push when guys in the defensive line are teeing off on you, hitting you in the face, knocking you backwards, and now the running back is 6 yards deep, running laterally with no speed downhill.
And it's hard to run when most of your, and this is, some of this is on Deshaun, some of it's on the game plan, and most of it is just because the offensive line can't hold up. The Browns are throwing almost every pass short, behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage, or within 5 yards.
Are we 75% pass? I think we lead the league in passing.
But the fact that
we're heavy,
that every throw is short, like if you're the other team, you've got so many guys in the box because you know that even if they throw, it's going to be a short pass.
Sure.
So
there's
everybody's
no threat
right
of stretching the field.
Right, very little of that right now.
And that's why you get the holding penalties. The reason, and it's a lot of technique, man. That's why sometimes if you're not used to watching tape on offensive linemen, there's a lot of lazy steps, false steps where you're supposed to be getting depth and trying to reach somebody, and you're taking your foot up, putting it up, and putting it at the same time, and now the defender is already into you, and now you're using your arms. A lot of this grabbing stuff we saw with Nick Harris, people say that was a ticky-tack foul. Well, listen, the problem is when they teach you as an offensive lineman, and this is why I have a problem with the coaching. You guys are 3 years in with Deshaun Watson. When you have a scrambling quarterback, they teach you when the defensive lineman goes and changes direction, that's because your quarterback is moving.
Right, yeah.
You have to let him go. They do drills like this. You're holding. When he goes to go this way and he turns and pulls, it's very obvious because now you can see this.
It's open.
It's open.
Right,
You're moving. And they teach you hands off and kind of shield. Hands off and get in the way. Hands off and just be in the way a little bit. The quarterback will account for that. And the Browns still don't understand that. That's why they get so many holding penalties, is because they're so hyper. Oh, I got him. I got my guy. And then, you got to disengage. You have to. Yeah. Or they're going to call those plays. And that's why I'm saying it just doesn't look like they're being coached up to the level of detail that needs to be done. It's just sloppy. They don't even look like they know who to pick up, guys.
Can we chalk that up to basically going through the motions in training camp with no preseason
that's a big
reps
part.
For anybody?
I don't think we can blame that anymore.
No,
and
they're
not the only team that did that.
No, but Bull, typically, if the preseason is 4 games, it gives you 4 games to work out the kinks. We're still working out the kinks, and we're 4 games into the regular season.
I was talking to my brother. He played offensive line, played Division I, and he played guard, he played tackle. So, he's saying, like, what happens is offensive linemen need time. The Hogs need time to ramp up. And what that means is getting your legs up underneath you. He's like, we're never really in shape. He's that's why they try to keep the wear and tear away from linemen, because they're just massive freaks of nature with a lot of weight on their frame.
Right.
And what they try to do is lessen your workload. He said, but it takes us time to get in football shape. And football shape is, can I get in my stance? Can I start? Can I knock people off the ball and do it 3 seconds, 1 to 1,000, 2 1,000, and keep doing it over and over again? Sometimes when you're not in shape, what happens is you get out of position because instead of you getting your feet up underneath you and understanding you got your powerful base and you're in shape and you got the wind and you got your stamina, now all of a sudden you're leaning over, you're lazy, you don't get in. Hey, big dudes got a lot of weight, bull. Sometimes you don't want to you don't bend over and tie your shoes. Sometimes you're like, man, my back hurt, my knees hurt, and then you start doing this and you start doing this. I was
Getting out of your technique.
Out of your technique, and all of them, even Joe Bitonio. I don't remember Joe Bitonio looking that heavy. Everybody up front, if you watch the two fronts, it looks like they are out of shape. Even Myles Garrett was winded the first game against the Cowboys. It takes time to ramp that up, and I don't know if they ran Camp Cupcake. One thing that we always used to have was if you was injured, you conditioned. Like we
Get on the bike.
It was test. It was running and bike test. You had to beat certain things. Like and people started being like, I ain't gonna be injured. I might as well practice.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna be sitting out. I'm not gonna be doing conditioning tests. But it just looks like up front, they're out of shape. They're sluggish. That energy level isn't there. They don't have that pop. And it's not gonna get better because now DeJuan Jones is dealing with knees. Teller's out. Joel looks like he's working his way into shape. At least Zach Zenner, I thought, except on the last play when he didn't block anybody, which goes to the thought process that they're up front, they don't have their rules down. There's a set of rules that we all know. Like, I know that I got the inside guy on this play, and I know that anytime a defensive lineman comes this way, defenders all have a gap, right? And we all are accountable for one. So if somebody leaves my gap, what's coming? Somebody's going to come fill that gap.
Right.
Because everyone has one. And right now, it's just like they don't have general principles because this is not the first time that an offensive lineman has let a guy go inside, spun around, saw another guy come outside, and don't block anybody.
We've seen it a number of times each week this season.
Each week.
Every time the defensive line does something different, I guess, there's always a problem.
There's always leakage.
Yeah. Anthony?
Yeah, guys. I have one more read to do today before we talk about Dustin Hopkins missing this extra point. And if you're going to see any Browns games, I want you guys to make sure you get your tickets from Game Time because Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets because who wants to do that? We just want to go and enjoy the game. You can use Game Time to do sports, concerts, comedy, theater, anything you need, any live event, they got it. And Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if they do not have the lowest price ticket that you can find. All you got to do is download Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but just create your account and redeem code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Game Time, download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. So, guys, we got to talk about how much blame Dustin Hopkins gets for missing some of these kicks yesterday. Let's get into
one.
it.
What do you mean some?
Missed one.
It was only one.
He gets some blame.
I mean, yeah,
He gets 1/53 of the blame.
It's hard
there
to
was enough
believe
to go
because the
around
guy's been
everyone.
outstanding that he missed
I know,
the extra
and
point.
I'm with you. I hated complaining about it.
Yeah.
This guy has been next level exceptional.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's been Justin Tucker good.
I mean, that 56-yard field goal he made
Had a
was
lot
easy.
left.
It was right down the middle,
Tucker
too.
said it would have
Yeah.
been good from 63,
Yeah,
64.
He's been great. Obviously got to make that extra point.
Because it changes the complexion of, instead of Deshaun Watson on fourth down scrambling around looking for somebody, you kick the field goal.
Now, you never know. The Raiders might have played defense differently.
Sure, you can't
We'll
assume
never
that it would have
know.
played out
but,
the same way,
but in theory, yes.
And here's the thing, and this sucks, but this is the reality of it. Kickers aren't perfect.
Yeah.
No kicker is. Justin Tucker was never perfect. Where this team is right now, there's no room for error anywhere.
Right.
Anywhere.
Yeah. Right.
If you're throwing a pick six, or if you're having an 82-yard touchdown called back, or if you're committing a stupid roughing the passer penalty that would have led to a punt, but now gives them life on the drive that leads to points.
Yep.
You can't miss anything.
No.
The room for error is gone. The margin for error. Now, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, who, by the way, a beautiful example again yesterday, the difference between the Browns and the Chiefs, and there are many,
But
it can be summed up like this.
Yeah.
The Chiefs can play like ass for 55 minutes. And you've got the safety blanket of Patrick Mahomes making a play, keeping a drive going. It was in defeat yesterday, but yesterday, Josh Allen made a throw that I couldn't quite believe. Jumping out of bounds, completely in the air, throws the ball 50 yards downfield to an open receiver on 4th down. They lost, I get it. But the Chiefs are making plays late in games that allow them to win. When have the Browns ever done that? Baker didn't do it. Deshaun isn't doing it.
Nope.
So your margin of error is zero.
It's like
you got to be perfect.
And it kills me because you look at it. If you just take the Amari Cooper one, right, and say you catch that, and then say, for instance, that's a catchable football. Then you turn around and look at the ball he throws for an 82-yard score. He evades the pressure, jumps up in the air, finds a guy, gets slammed to the ground, wide open, 82 yards. Think about, now you're looking at it, Deshaun Watson's like 24 of 32 for almost 300 yards and multiple touchdowns, no interceptions. Think about that.
Yeah.
And it's just 2 plays. And it's one tug here and a guy not concentrating and looking the ball in. And that's the difference between a win and a loss.
Yeah, there are, in any given game, there are 10 to 15 plays that you can go back afterwards when you're examining the loss and say, if. The better you are, the fewer number of those plays you have to hit on. If you're not very good, you're going to have to hit on multiple of those plays. Yesterday, just an example. One play, not just the missed field goal. If the tic-tac hold wasn't called, the Browns likely win the game.
They win the game.
One play, one guy, one moment. But you've got a lot of those plays from yesterday.
Yeah.
You've got the stupid penalty on the roughing the passer.
You got the snap.
You've got the missed extra point. You've got the snap that puts them even behind the sticks now to start the most important series of that drive of the game.
2-minute warning. The 2-minute warning is first and 10 for the 16.
Misuse of a timeout would have given us a few more plays on offense. Like, it's all a cumulative effort. This was the ultimate team defeat.
And we're seeing this every week.
Every week.
That's
why I say
every week.
It's the Browns brownsing.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing because that's who they are. It's in their DNA.
When you root for your team, let me ask you guys this, because I'll say as a Bengals fan, right? When I watched, and I was a kid when Boomer Esiason played, so long ago, it's hard to remember.
I was in my teens. I remember Boomer very well.
Right. But as an adult, when the Bengals would play and it'd be close late, I would always assume they were going to lose until they got Joe Burrow. And even now, when he's been good, not spectacular. Yeah. His numbers look really good the last 2 weeks. He's been good. He's been really good, but not as good as he was.
Their offense is getting closer to what it used to be.
Yes. And even though the Bengals defense is horrendous, I still, in a close game, expect the Bengals to win no matter who they play because of Joe Burrow.
That's
and
fair.
It's the only time as an adult I've ever felt that way about the Bengals. I didn't feel that way with Andy Dalton, who was a decent quarterback. I didn't feel that way about Jeff Blake or David Klingler or even Carson Palmer. I never really felt that way.
Right.
As a Browns fan, have you felt that way since Bernie? Did you feel that way with Bernie?
Bull, I'll go a step further.
Yeah.
Not only do I not feel like we're going to win.
Right.
I feel pretty confident we're going to find a way to screw it up.
Yeah.
Going back to Bernie, Brian Sipe was the cardiac kid architect, okay? That was the 79 season.
Yeah.
What they did, if you go back and you look at some of those games, they pulled a rabbit out of a hat every single week.
Right.
It was nuts. Sometimes they were down 14, sometimes they were down 10. They were always down in the fourth quarter. And it used to drive me nuts. It was like then Retigliano said, okay, let's get aggressive. Brian Sipe slinging it all over the place. Yeah. They win. I'm like, why don't we play like that for 55 minutes leading up to that?
But you didn't feel like they were out of it.
But I
ever.
never, with Brian Sipe in 79, I felt like, that's okay, we're down 10. I've seen this movie before.
Right.
With Bernie Kosar, I felt that way.
Yes.
Since Bernie Kosar walked out that door, I have not had that feeling consistently where I'm like, we're down 7 here, we got this.
There are moments.
But I've mostly felt we're down 7, we'll find a way to give it away.
Even with Baker?
Even with
2020 Baker, you didn't
even
feel that way.
2020 Baker.
Derek Anderson?
Listen, if you go back and look at the 2020 season, those victories were baked in the first, second, and third quarter.
Yes.
Right.
Baker didn't do anything in the fourth quarter to lift this team to victory.
And matter of fact, it's even worse. You feel like that as soon as they put, and that's why people go crazy about the Houston Watson thing, right? Because there was the New York Odell Beckham Jr. thing. Like, when they put that jersey on, they are different.
Right.
And when they take that jersey off, they are different.
Sure.
And so
OBJ was OBJ before and after Cleveland, but never when he was in
never
Cleveland.
right here. So when people see that, you have a complex because it's like, are you serious? Like, we watching this young rookie and Jaden Daniels, right, do his thing. We watching these young players like Malik Neighbors, and it's just like, but we've had first-round picks and draft picks. They do nothing. We've tried every which way to get a quarterback. They don't do anything. Right. We've even gone out and acquired them like the top of the line, and we get here and they're like, it's buyer's remorse. You're just like sitting here thinking about it.
I know, how would life be different for us if for some freak of nature Jaden Daniels ended up in our hands?
Right, but I don't know.
Would he be Jaden Daniels?
Now,
because Washington has been mired.
They've been awful. Terrible. Do Washington Commanders fans already feel that way with Jaden Daniels?
If they don't, they will soon.
I mean, it's only 4 games. I'll tell you. I'll tell you, in Houston, they feel that way about C.J. Stroud, no doubt about it.
I know they do.
Yeah.
I know they do. Jaden Daniels is the only quarterback in NFL history to have higher than 82% completion rate for 2 games in a row. Any
crazy.
quarterback, not just rookies.
That's crazy.
Ever.
I do think completion percentage is way up this year because of all the short passes.
Well, the league has taken out the long pass.
Yep.
So what it's forced guys to do. Even Jaden Daniels yesterday with his 4 incompletions, he only threw for 233 yards.
Right.
But he's wildly accurate. He's taking what the defense has given him. And you know what? He probably saw a lot of that when he was at LSU. He probably saw a lot of that at LSU. So short, quick passes that are high percentage.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, he's finding the open guy.
But when you find, and to the point, the bigger picture is like, to your point, when you find that special quarterback in the draft, and we thought for a moment it was Baker. We'll see how his career turns out, but he
was awesome again yesterday.
He was awesome yesterday. But I don't think he's that special quarterback. He's maybe, who knows what he is. And when you find that special receiver, there's something about that too. Like, if you're a Giants fan, as bad as things are now, you're super excited about Malik Neighbors.
Yep.
You're like, we got the next superstar wide receiver.
And they do. Yeah.
Right? And the Browns have not gotten either of those things, really.
Do yourself a favor, and we got to do this week as a draft exercise. I looked at the draft sheets for Andrew Berry.
Yeah.
And I did this because Ben Axelrod, who's a great follow, Channel 3 colleague for a number of years. Now he's working for, I think, Awful Announcing.
Yeah.
He's a good guy, and he's smart too. He's written some books. He's a really good sports mind. He took the 4 Andrew Berry draft classes, and he laid them out. And he put everybody into the following class: home run, hit, still waiting, bust. I believe those were the 4 categories. JOK was the only home run.
Yeah, it's bad. Now, in fairness to
I thought
him,
Martin Emerson was a home run. We thought some other guys might be home runs, but they've diminished now.
Yeah.
And when you look, a lot of those guys are gone. Anthony Schwartz. I know Bell's hurt, but they released him earlier this year and then brought him back.
Yeah.
He certainly isn't a hit.
Nope.
And I don't even think he's a guy that we need to see more on. I think we can all already say for what we gave, he was a 3rd-round draft pick.
Yeah. He hasn't had first-round picks because of the Watson trade.
So I get all of that, but you got to judge what you're judging.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at 2nd-round picks, 3rd-round picks, 4th-round picks. Where's Togiai?
Well, even the fact that, and you could put this on him, I mean, he traded a second-round pick for Elijah Moore and a third-round
Oh,
pick.
my God, Elijah
So you
Moore.
could have had
Yes.
a much better player
Yes.
in theory in that second round.
And the Jets go out and get Garrett Wilson, ball player. Marvin Harrison Jr.,
Well,
ball
you
player.
see all these wide receivers that have made immediate impact.
Brian Thomas,
and we
ball
can't find
player.
one.
And
Thomas, even on a bad Jags team, you can tell he's really good.
the problem with the Browns is when you watch the Browns, they look like old plodding Clydesdales. Just no explosive nature. Even their corners. Martin Emerson is out there running around. You go back and look at his draft grades. He was a 4.54, 4.56 guy. You know, he's stiff when it comes to these quick twitch guys. And the problem you have is JOK is the only one. But all your other main bell cow type players are from a previous regime.
Or they're veterans that you had
Or
to trade for.
that you
and look
traded
at their
for.
the two of all the drafting, this regime has done the worst job at wide receiver and defensive line. Is that fair to say?
Oh, my God.
Okay?
Yes.
So if you look at those two positions, in the last 5 years, they have not drafted and developed or signed as a rookie free agent or developed a single player.
Anybody.
Alex Wright was trending at the end of last year in the right direction. So far, he hasn't done much. Maybe he has a chance. Nobody else on the D-line. Every young wide receiver they've brought in, there's been no progression.
Our collection of wide receivers, first of all, in franchise history, is a train wreck. It's an F.
Oh, yeah.
But when you look recently, for a moment, and this was under Dorsey, with Odell and with Landry, I think they both had 1,000 yards receiving
Yeah, they did.
in the same year.
Same year.
Like,
We'd lose our mind for that.
it is our collective grade at wide receiver, even with Amari Cooper, it's got to be a D or an F over the last 3 or 4 years. Like, nobody is changing anybody's life in the NFL.
You can't.
Dead last in speed rate, by the way.
You can't get.
Because that's measurable now.
You can't even get easy touchdowns. You can't get easy little stuff like think about it. Our defense gave up touchdowns on end arounds. Like, they just like, hey, we can't throw it to the guy. Let's just run an end around and just hand it to him.
They scored didn't they score on a jet sweep yesterday or an end around?
By the way,
Trey Tucker,
By the way, come on,
and when
Jim.
we run it, we get tackled for a 7-yard loss, no matter who we give it to.
Come on, Jim Schwartz. They're running college plays on you
Jim
now.
Schwartz is doing a terrible job.
This
We
is
lauded
horrible.
him last year.
This is horrible. This is
Man,
horrible.
everybody's in the bullseye today, aren't they?
God.
Everybody getting
And
smoked.
what's so not? I always say winning hides warts.
Yeah.
If that holding play isn't called, all of this stuff is overlooked because we're talking about it's a win. We're
It's a
2-2.
win.
You don't apologize for wins.
Right.
But when you lose, everything looks worse.
That's right.
And everyone is in the crosshairs. And right now, guys, I hate to use the word gentleman's punt. You coined it a couple years ago. Like, they've got to make a decision on Nick Chubb soon. They've got to decide, are we putting him back on? I can't
And he's
put him.
supposed to practice this week.
He
by the
will
way.
practice today.
Yeah.
I can't put him on the field behind this line. I couldn't in good faith do that to him.
I mean, it is so unfair to ask that man to come back and feel like
if you're 1-6, are you bringing him back?
He has to be the savior.
He's going to want to play, though.
You've got to make a decision on him
Yeah.
in 21 days, I think, right?
Yeah.
Because now he's off IR.
Yeah.
So
Well, he's not off yet, but
no, he's
his
allowed to
window-
practice. He's allowed to practice.
yeah.
But then you have a 21-day window?
I'm not sure because he's on the PUP list, not on IR. So I don't know. I got to look at the rules for that.
Yeah,
but
the way I understood it, I thought he had 21 days. You got to make a decision.
Otherwise,
on the 21 days.
he's gone for the year.
Let's
but-
just say that you lose to Washington, which
Yeah.
that one's baked into me. If you're 1-6, I'm not bringing him back.
In theory,
I
yes.
just can't.
Here's the problem, though. His contract is based on incentives. He's going to be a free agent. He's going to want to play.
Right, he's right.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. Anthony, what do you got?
All right, guys. I don't have a read for us. We got through all of our reads, but I think we've been dying this entire day to move on from the Browns. Please. Talk some Guardians.
Please.
Don't worry, Jay. We're doing Guardians. I want to start. Jose got robbed of his 40 for 40 yesterday. The weather happens. It's not anybody's fault, but how bad do we feel about Jose missing that 40-40?
Obviously, there's no guarantee he would have gotten it.
No, there isn't.
He needed one home run and one double to become the second ever 40-40-40 guy. Just one home run to become the seventh ever 40-40 guy. He had a remarkable season. He's not going to win the MVP, but he's going to finish in the top 6 for the 6th time since 2017, which is remarkable.
No one else has finished in the top 6
That's
for
right.
all 6 years.
That's he's just been absolutely sensational. They're going to need him big time in the playoffs. But I for all this misery with the Browns, I'm beyond excited to watch the play, to watch this doubleheader today in baseball, get the playoffs underway, and I can't wait to see the Guardians play Saturday. I'm anxious because they've struggled in the postseason in recent years.
Yeah.
And as well as they've played, you never know. In a 5-game series, it could be over like that.
Yes, it
But I
could.
feel so good about the Guardians. I think they're in a really good place heading into the playoffs. I'm confident in the bullpen. I'm confident.
What do you think about the
lineup.
7-day layoff?
Well, it's not 7, it's 5.
Well, they didn't play Sunday.
Oh, that's true. It'd be 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's Saturday to
You're
Saturday.
right. It's
a week.
basically a week. You're right. I don't love it. I know they're going to play some simulated games. It's not ideal. However, at least you get to set up your rotation the way you want, which the Tigers and Astros won't be able to do. There are some guys, let's face it, Jose probably could use a couple days off. He's played so much, he's been banged up. Kwan's just coming back off injury. But, yeah, I mean, listen, last year the teams that had a bye got knocked out early.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's going to happen this year. I am in a way nervous about that first round because of that, and you really want to win that first game. But I think they're in a good spot, and whoever they play, the Astros or Tigers, I think they've got a good chance to win.
You know what I love, Bull, is I love the fact that, sometimes, man, you got to give the flowers to the people that's doing their thing. The Guardians came out this year. They didn't have high expectations. They had a rookie manager. And the thing that I can appreciate about the Guardians is I don't have to tell their best players to show up. Jose, you know what I'm saying, he led by example. Like, he's the best player. He played like he was the best player. And him being in the top 6 in the MVP race for 6 straight years is remarkable.
Not 6 straight, but 6 since 2017.
It's remarkable.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they, you got their guys, the core guys, the nailers. You got Ramirez. And they did it without even the rotation where it was supposed to be. The McKenzie and Bieber.
Patchwork rotation.
Patchwork. And they came out here and not only did it, they overdid it. They had an opportunity to fold up in the middle of the year when the Twins was down in the Kansas City Royals was coming on fast. They got an opportunity to beat those teams. They get to bye, and now they get to watch and sit and see everybody else who get to come to Cleveland and play. And I think we got to give them more flowers because some of the stuff that we watch all the time with the Cavs and all the time with the Browns, and we be quick to get on the Guardians, but they delivered. They delivered what you want. And so they have an opportunity to break one of their curses, and I think people need to understand. They over-delivered.
Nobody had them as the 2 seed.
I mean, the Guardians are the anti-Browns.
Yes.
They are.
They are polar opposites.
Yep.
The Browns spend like crazy and are underachievers.
And produce no
Guardians
results.
spend nothing
and get
are
all the
overachievers.
results. Yep.
The Browns have terrible body language and terrible effort and terrible discipline.
Right.
Guardians have great body language, great effort,
Great hustle.
great discipline.
My
Their
God,
young
do they
guys
hustle.
play.
Their
Their
young
young guys deliver.
And their
Yes.
superstar leads the example by playing harder than everybody on the field.
That's right.
So how do you, if you're...
When does Jose Ramirez not hustle?
Never.
Never.
Although I will say he made 2 bad base running mistakes in the last week of the season, and they stand out to me because he never...
It's so unusual.
His IQ on the bases is 160. He is unreal on the bases. But he did make, he made a mistake in the 4-3 loss. He
did.
got in the rundown. It was just a great play by the pitcher. He was being aggressive, which is what he does.
Right.
And you'd rather make an aggressive mistake.
That's right.
But even when he made a mistake, he did something smart by getting in the rundown long enough for the
That's right.
for the hitter to get
That's
down
right,
to
where
second
some
base.
other hitters would have just
given
shut it
themselves
down.
up, and the guy's on first base.
I got a question. We be locked in on the Browns like way too much. I mean, you be locked in on them in the offseason. In baseball, in this city, at what point in time, because I remember back in 2016, it took a little bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't the first round people was locked in.
No, you're right.
Then it wasn't the second. It's like
I think because the regular season they've had, there's a lot of excitement for the Saturday game, for their first playoff game.
There is, I think because since 16 they've kind of flopped in the playoffs.
Right.
I think people are holding their breath a little bit and will be very nervous. But if you win in that first round, I think the confidence is going to skyrocket.
A fan made a great point to me yesterday, and I hadn't thought of it this way, and I don't fully buy it because this is DNA. This is a Brownstown. That's what it is. Your lunch bucket cities, your blue collar fan base, they trend to lean more towards football. They just do. But this fan said something that was very interesting to me. The Browns season got sideways quick.
That's a great.
So they wanted diversion.
Like whoever this is, shout out to you.
I know. It's very smart. Very smart. But listen to his next point. So the fan base needs a diversion. They want a winner. If the Guardians get on a run and can somehow find a way to win 12 games, this was his point. They could change the DNA of the fan base in Cleveland for the next few decades. Because we're
Are you buying that?
No, that's
No,
what I said.
Yeah.
I don't go fully in on that because whenever we ask questions of like who's the best GM, I was talking to somebody over at the Guardians about this on Friday. I said, well, we did a fan poll. We asked the fans who's the best owner in town. 50% of the fans said it was this guy.
The owner I can understand because with the owner, fans just think of
It's just
money.
money.
Sure.
When it comes to GM, it's crazy.
But that's first level thinking by the fans.
Yeah.
You can't just think of the money. You can throw money at anything. It doesn't mean it's going to be great.
That's true.
And they've thrown money at it, and it has been a pile of garbage.
Right, but I can still understand that more than the GM debate.
Sure, but we
that-
asked specifically who's
Yeah.
the best owner.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said GM, maybe I
Yeah.
did. We asked who's the best owner. 50% of our audience said Jimmy Haslam.
It was 1-0.
And the people over at the Guardians that hear that, they just kind of chuckle because they're like,
I'm gonna tell you
Okay.
this. I'm gonna tell you this though, Jay. I'm gonna be honest with you though. He's right. They could put pressure on them. The
lot of pressure.
The Guardians winning is the Cavs is different because it's LeBron. So that kind of was a little different.
Sure.
This is completely organic, and he's right. That season went left. It's a lot of infighting with the Browns. It's a lot of
not been
people
pretty.
disenfranchised.
you have a Texas Rangers-like World Series run, and you get a parade
They
down
have to
East
win,
9th.
though.
They have to win.
have to win.
Yeah.
No, we've been
Yeah,
close
yeah,
and
yeah.
lost.
Right.
And that didn't flip the fan base.
No.
Because
our
there's
attendance in 17, 18, 19 was still 26th, 27th in the league. This fan base has already bought into the point where we had 2 million fans.
If you can get a combo of winning a World Series and raised payroll in the offseason,
Yeah.
then that combo.
So, you know what?
Yeah.
I left that part out.
Yeah.
This astute fan also said the Browns season is sideways. The Guardians go on a big run and win the World Series. The ownership opens the checkbook because when the Marlins won the World Series in 97, they had no carryover because
No.
it was a rented team.
That's right.
And everybody was gone
That's
in
right.
98.
That's right.
Everybody.
Yeah.
They had one of the worst teams in the league all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So what they'd have to do is to parlay that into big fandom for the next season is the owner has to go out and find 2 high-priced free agents, a pitcher and a bat, and add to that. And do you know how excited the fans would be in April
God.
And
for opening day, coming off a World Series win, and you've just added 2 more pieces?
You get 3 million fans maybe next year.
you might do it, Bull.
And you get Bazana up here, and you looking around, and you got a young player that you can market.
Yes.
You say, hey, we got our young guy, he's playing. We got a bat. We got
Got our veterans, we've
And-
got our youth, we've
and
got
the
money
young-
now, we've got a title.
and that
It could happen, Bull.
It
could happen.
I would love nothing more.
Yeah.
Would love
it's
I know
up for
you- I know
debate.
you-
It's up
you're
for
on the
debate.
same page.
The young generation, they looking for something hip. They're looking for something
here's
hip.
the beauty of it. I won't say his name because he's still on the air and everybody knows him. I've told you guys this story off the air about 10 years ago. No, it was after the 16 season.
Yeah.
This member of the media begged me, Jay, please pick a new team.
Yeah, right.
Please.
Oh, yeah.
I like you. You're
Yeah,
a nice guy. I want you to experience what other people
football.
for football.
Yeah.
And I go, you don't pick a new team. The team, it's in your DNA. I was
Yeah.
born. I could never pick a new team. But he implored me. He begged me. And I said, why? And he goes, I'm just telling you. I know the current ownership. I know what they're about. I know what their abilities are. I know what their limitations are. He doesn't know that he's not the smartest guy in the room. And the problem here is it's always going to be something else. And do you want to know why? And I said, why? And he goes, it's your fault. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Blind
it's
loyalty,
my fault.
right?
He said, Cleveland's fan base, and he said they're not alone. There's 4 or 5 other fan bases in the NFL that are blindly loyal like this. But he said, your fan base tolerates it.
Yeah.
You root it on. You come back every Sunday and you think maybe this is the Sunday.
Get mad
maybe this is the season.
Get mad at the media when they
Get
criticize.
mad at the media
Yeah.
when they say what the truth is. They don't want to hear the truth.
Nah.
You can't handle the truth.
I want you make me feel good.
And so he's literally said, and he goes, and it hurts me to say this to you because I know that you think you have nothing to do with it. And you are a small part of it. It's the machine of the fan base. You tolerate this crap. And when you keep showing up and you keep watching and you keep buying tickets, you give the owner no financial incentive to do anything about
That's
it.
fair, but it's hard to change that.
It's hard to
Yeah, of
change
course.
it. But what he said now, what the Guardians could do is say, okay, Browns, we're looking at you. The Cavs got one. Now we've got one. You're up.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
And the fan base can be a little more critical,
Hopefully.
of the owner, who,
Yeah.
by the way, I think this show's fans is a pretty good cross-section of Cleveland sports fans.
No doubt.
And they think that we've got the best owner in town over with the Browns.
speaking of,
So
wonder
as
if
long
they-
as you tolerate it, you put up
I
with
wonder
what
if
you
they would
tolerate.
think that today.
well,
we got Mike?
Well, Mike is
Probably
going to
not.
talk
Have
to somebody
Mike,
who
they
thinks
can't
he's the
hear us,
best
so we're
owner.
just going to toss to him.
Yep, okay. They cannot hear us. There'll be no interaction, but here come the guys from Cavs Media Day. Guys, take it away.
Hey, Jason, look, it's us. We're on
Hey, it's
TV.
us.
Hey, guys. We are here live at Cavs Media Day. Jason Lloyd, Mikey McNuggets here, the Ultimate Cavs podcast host. Jason also works for The Athletic, and you know who I am because I work for UCSS. We talked to Kobe Altman, Kenny Atkinson, Tristan Thompson today. We might get another player, but Jason, you were over at the podiums where Donovan, Darius, Evan, Jarrett, all the big names spoke. You have one big takeaway from what you may have learned today from hearing from those guys?
No, it was all exactly
Media
what you.
day.
Yeah, it's what you would think they would say. Donovan was said he was excited to put all the contract stuff behind him, was able to sign a deal and put it to end all of the questions. He said it was 3 years in a row. If you go back to his Utah days of having to talk about his future and where he's going to be, and so he was relieved to be here. I was excited to be here. Put pen to paper. He said it was really around January, February that he kind of knew that he made up his mind that he wanted to stay and sign the extension. I think winning that series against Orlando helped a lot. I don't know, how this goes if they lose that Game 7. I think that certainly helped immensely. And so here we are. They were run basically the entire team back. Darius talked about the weight that he lost last year.
He looked big. I don't know if he did look like he
did
put
have
on
a little
some
bit
real
more
weight.
defined muscle. Yeah, he said he lost 15 pounds over the wired jaw, and then to come back, obviously in the middle of the season, it's hard to do that. Played a physical playoff series. Denied, said it wasn't true. Our story about how they may ask for a trade if Donovan resigns, it was true, but it's okay. He can deny it. We stand by all of it. I did not hear Jarrett. I wanted to. I don't know where he went or when he went. I don't know how I missed him.
He spoke at that podium while someone else was speaking.
Okay.
One of those doubled up.
Okay, so I missed Jarrett, and Evan talks like this and didn't really have a lot to say. So got to get more personality out of Evan still. They're working on that.
Well,
Got to work on the game first.
On
man.
that, well, I asked Kenny Atkinson about Evan Mobley specifically.
Yeah.
We talked to Kenny. We had our one-on-one before he left for the Olympic run. And I said, hey, how do you want to use Evan, and what are you thinking? We talked about his ceiling, shooting, all that. And I asked, okay, now that you've seen Evan in open gyms and you've got a chance to talk to him, work with him, has your expectations for what he can be as a player changed? And he goes, yeah, it's crazy how talented he is, which is what we've heard since he's been here. I think we all know how talented he could be.
Yep.
But Kenny said the one thing that stood out to me is it's his quiet competitiveness.
Yeah.
And the way this dude is a fiery guy. He doesn't do it. It's not vocal. But this guy hates to lose. He hates not being good at something. And for a guy who we look at from the outside looking in and saying, where's the passion? Does he care? He just seems to be so even keel. Maybe behind closed doors, there's more of that fiery competitor and that side of him that we haven't seen thus far that Kenny can help bring out, because even in the short time it's already impressed his new head coach.
Well, I think actually his first couple of years, I think people in the organization were trying to find or get more out of him. So if Kenny's seeing it, that may be a recent development, because I've talked to people who wanted to see more of that out of him and needed that side of him to sort of emerge. So hopefully, listen, The Cavs have been very bold. I'll give them credit. They are not hiding why Kenny Atkinson is here. They said it when they hired him, and they doubled down on it Friday. He is here to get more out of Evan Mobley. He's here to make the two big lineup fix the two big lineup, make it work. He's here to get more offensive production out of Evan Mobley, and they are not running from that at all. And the Cavs, I wrote about this. I don't think it went up yet. It'll probably go up tomorrow. But when you look at the roster, when you look at the coaching staff, the Cavs are telling you that the coach was the problem because they brought back the entire roster.
Mm-hmm.
So they're telling you it was a coaching issue. It's not a roster issue. It's not a fit issue. It was very much a coaching issue. And now we'll see if they're right. They have from now to February for Kenny to figure out if that's true or not and to fix this and to try and get it right.
They tripled down. I asked Kobe Altman, hey, you bringing back the same roster. Kenny was the change. Why Kenny is the one? And he said, we were most impressed by his plan to develop Evan Mobley. That's what we need. We know that is the key to unlocking this team. So then I asked Kenny, all right, Kenny, the roster's back. You're the variable.
Yeah.
Does that put extra pressure on you? And he goes, no, it's an honor. It's an honor that this organization felt like I was the right guy to take them from where they were to where they want to go. And it's really for Kenny, and I'm speaking now, paraphrasing what he said, this is step 2 of me in my coaching career. I've done the rebuild. I did it in Brooklyn. Now it's time to help take a team that was good and make them elite. And I have to prove to the NBA, to the NBA community, to myself that I can do that phase of coaching. I've done the first side of it. You know, it didn't end in Brooklyn how we wanted to, but he accomplished the rebuild. Now it's time for him to take on this new challenge. And I like the way he's kind of approaching this entire challenge. I got to find a better word than challenge. I think you just use that 5 times in a sentence, but a better way to approach this next journey in his coaching career.
Yeah, I just give him credit for they're not hiding from it. They're not hiding from why he's here, why they brought him here. And now he's got to go out and do it. I think Kenny got the most out of what he had to work with in Brooklyn. He overachieved for sure. And now we'll see if he can do that here. If he can't,
No, but the fact that
there will probably be changes to this roster by the trade deadline in February. But they have from now until February to try and see if they can get the backcourt functioning again and the front court to work again.
I also asked Kenny, hey, Darius Donovan playing together, do they shoot enough? The one thing both Kenny and Kobe emphasized is we know we have shooters. Do we have the volume? We have to increase the three-point volume, which no matter what you want to say about the core 4, no matter how you want to, it's worked because they won regular season games. It hasn't worked because it hasn't been successful in the postseason. You could look at all the advanced stats. Some work, some don't. Some work in certain situations. You could parse that however you want. If they're going to be shooting more threes than ever this year, it goes one of 2 ways. Either Evan starts taking 5, 6, 7 a game, or they're not playing 2 bigs together at the same time for more often than we've seen over the last 2 years. That was evidently clear talking to coach, GM, or president of basketball operations, and Tristan Thompson, who I asked, hey, Kenny's done some pretty cool things with big shooting threes. Tristan, is that up your alley? He goes, you know what? You got to watch the interview. I'm not even going to tell you what he said. You got to watch the interview. It's going to be on our YouTube page later tonight.
I was going to say because it was supposed to be now. We were supposed to talk to all these people now, and then the schedule got adjusted a little bit. So you've already done a lot of the interviews, and they're already in the can. When are they going to air?
We'll have a strategic meeting at 2:00 and figure out the best schedule to parse these out. But we got Kobe, we got Kenny for about 10 minutes each, and we got Tristan for about 5 minutes. And we're hoping to get, I see Sam Merrill. Here comes Luke Travers walking down here. I'm going to try to grab 1 or 2 more guys before it is all said and done. But yeah, the Cavs, because of the hurricane, we'll wrap in 1 minute. I got you. Yeah, because of the hurricane, they pushed their flight up to get there early because of some travel things, which is why I think the Cavs pushed our live window up, or actually just scratched our live window and said, hey, this is when your chance to talk to Kobe and Kenny is. If it's not now, come back in a couple of weeks and we'll see if we can do it later. But all in all, it was good to talk to those guys. Excitement for a new season and hopefully a better playoff result than we've seen the last 2 years.
Give us something to talk about besides the Browns.
Yeah, I do want to mention one last thing, and we'll wrap up in 2 minutes. But I asked Kobe, tangible progress, playing team, playoff team, win a playoff series. Are you willing to put championship or bust? Or I asked him second round, win 2 playoff series. Is that? And they're not shying away from the fact that they expect this team to win multiple playoff series. That is the expectation. And I think we have to focus all of our conversations on Cleveland this year throughout that prism. Good is fine, but is good enough?
Yeah.
And we may not have the answer until April, May, and March, but it is going to be interesting to see, is good enough compared to the goods of the Bostons, the New Yorks, who just traded for Karl Anthony Towns, which we'll talk about on a Cavs show this week. We have to talk about that. But Is good enough is going to be a question I'm interested in answering throughout this season.
Well, and then here's what I would say is, like, we have to sort of pull Bull and G back from a lather at certain points in the season. If your goal is to win 2 playoff series or make a conference finals or whatever it is, or play for a championship, then use the regular season to build toward that.
Yes.
Because I don't think that they've done a good enough job in the regular season. We've talked about it. Worry about building good habits in the regular season. Try different things. Try playing left-handed. Try different styles that you may not need in February, but you're going to need in May. So you better do them in February. And it may look funny and it may cost them a game, but that's okay.
Yep.
Because as long as the East is loaded, the East is packed. You just want to be a top 6 team in this. Obviously, you want to try and avoid the play-in and be somewhere in that top 6. 4th, 5th seed, even 6th seed in the East now is not the same as 4th, 5th, and 6th seed in the East 10 years ago. It's stacked. There's a lot of good teams, but I don't think there's any team that's infallible in the East.
Spot on. All right. From Cavs Media Day, I'm Mikey McNuggets. That is Jason Lloyd, JG Bull. Back to you guys to wrap up the show.
Thank you there, awkward Mike.
Hey, Bull.
Say whatever you want about him. He can't hear us.
Yeah.
They got to hold us back. That we get
Hold us back, lathered up. Yeah.
Listen,
About the Cavs.
I'm all welcome. Yeah. Listen, like what old boy say? The baseball fan say? He said the season went left early, or what was his term when you
got sideways early.
Oh yeah, got sideways real quick. I'm willing to look. If y'all want to play different paces, y'all want to play some young guys, y'all want to play at different positions, small, big lineups, pace, threes. I don't know, experiment with 2 bigs, or whatever the case you want to do. That's what we was asking for with JB Bickerstaff.
Here's my number 1 thought on the Cavs. Call me in April. By the way,
we need to make it to the conference
and
championship.
the Knicks just got even better.
I know
with Karl
they
Anthony
did.
Towns. I can't believe there's some Knicks fans unhappy about that trade.
I saw
That's
that
so
they were, and
stupid.
I don't know what they're complaining about.
Julius Randle can't stay on the court.
But, Bull, when have you ever known New York sports fans to be completely happy all at the same time about anything?
That's fair.
There's always going to be dissension.
Never.
When you got 8 billion people or whatever that live on the island.
That's true.
You know.
Hey, speaking of fans, guys, we got 10 super chats to get to. Somebody even donated $100 today. So
Shout
that's
out
huge.
to whoever that is.
I'll get to you here in 1 second because I want to give you time.
Shouldn't
for
his
your
$100 go first?
You want to do him first? All right,
Yeah,
let's do him first.
I feel
$100.
we almost
He should
need,
get the
like,
first honor.
All right,
trumpets
this is
and
from
confetti.
Jason Cromley.
Yeah, Jason.
I think this is an ownership issue. Didn't Kevin prove last year, taking the team to the playoffs with 5 different QBs, that Haslam wasted $250 million? He got pissed and made Kevin get rid of his offensive coach and forced him to do an offense that makes Deshaun the star.
This is absolutely valid. I agree with that 100%.
I'm not buying a lot of that.
I agree with it, Bull.
Kevin's
you
got
let
paid. He can
you
do
let the
whatever he
quarterback
wants.
drive the bus with decisions.
I've always thought
Kevin didn't want to fire AVP.
I don't think that has anything to do with why they're struggling. And
No,
personally, and I don't think the offense doesn't look any different to me than it looked the last 2 years.
I think it looked the same way.
Yeah.
It could be better under some quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I think I've always found this just very strange. We talk about money all the time. Why is it that we don't know how much Kevin makes?
I think it's out there.
Find it.
When it comes to coaches and GMs, it's
Well,
taboo.
because it doesn't have to be reported for the cap. Like the cap, it's got to be public because it's cap knowledge.
I think the players we tell players they're not worth it all the time. But what if we knew that somebody was making $20
I know, but
million?
guys, I understand what you're saying, and I don't care what the coach makes. I don't care if the coach makes $20 million.
I don't care if they get a penny.
I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't care if
I
they
don't
get
care-
a penny.
I don't care if the
I don't
players
care.
get a
I just
penny.
want I want wins. And what the super chat points out is after a season in which the Browns made the playoffs and Deshaun Watson had next to nothing to do with that, Kevin's hands were tied. I don't have to guess about this anymore. We know what happened. Kevin was forced to clean house on his offensive staff. Clean house. You can also read in the tea leaves and say if he was forced to change offensive coordinators, it's not very likely that Kevin said, yeah, let's go with Ken Dorsey. It's likely that decision was made by Paul DiPodesto and Jimmy Haslam. So you've taken the offense in a different direction, and I disagree with you that the offense looks like it did last year. There were times last year when our offense looked really, really good.
right,
Really good.
I'm not saying. I'm saying the play, the style of play is the same.
So
They're
this-
just not executing.
What's different is who's quarterback. That's why I said earlier, I think what we might have hit is we might be at an impasse. We might be at the place where it happens in sports, where Kevin Stefanski and Deshaun Watson are just not a mix.
Can you? We have to come to the. I also have to say, is that offense a Super Bowl type of offense?
Absolutely not.
Can you win a Super Bowl with that offense?
No, and
Not
they
with
weren't
these players.
And by the way, they weren't winning a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco either.
No.
so.
No, they clearly didn't win a playoff game with Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
But if you're comparing the two, there's no comparing. We haven't had a 200-yard passing game all season.
That's true.
All right, guys. Next one up is from Set Apart Laz. What happened to the Tony Busby 2-week threat that added pressure and made people not like Watson a little more this year?
Someone asked me that before the game over the weekend. Where's this video that incriminates? I said immediately, there's no video.
There's no video.
If there was video, he'd be in jail.
Yeah,
right.
If there was video, we would have seen it by now. Tony Busby, shut your mouth.
He's been doing this the whole time, and y'all been keep falling for it. Like, he is the Chris Avenatti of this thing.
I don't even know who that is.
He's the Stormy Daniels attorney.
No,
Michael Avenatti.
Yeah.
Where he was like, he basically like took all her bread, all her money. It
Yeah.
was like, he's in jail now. He's like trying to
Someone
extort.
from Houston that covers the team and
Yeah.
doesn't cover, Law and Order, but covers the team that knows Tony Busby, said Tony Busby does a disservice to every woman who is actually a victim.
Yeah, he's a sleazy guy. Go ahead.
All right, so Evan419 renewed his membership for 23 months.
Thank you,
Shout out
Evan.
Evan, and he says a different voice in the headset saying the play is going to make Cooper catch or DeJuan block or Deshaun play well. Blaming play calling is so lazy.
It's not about that. It's
It's
about
overall.
Kevin Stefanski being able to focus on things he seems unfocused on right now.
Right, take out the play calling. Take that
Forget
out.
that. It's not
the
about
fact that
the
he
play calling.
misused timeouts in the first and the second half. Bull's
not-
right. He's
yeah.
just overwhelmed.
I'm
it
not
happens.
saying take it away because I don't like his play calling. I'm saying take it away.
Well, I'm partly saying it.
Okay, fine. But for me, that's not the reason.
Yeah.
The reason is because he's blown his clock management, timeout usage have been awful.
And he blew it. He had issues against Jacksonville. He had issues. He's had issues with this dating back a number of years. And by the way, he gets paid to be the coach of the team.
CEO.
Not to just say
Get out of
call
the
plays.
weeds.
Sometimes you got to do
Let your offensive coordinator be in the offensive weeds. Let your defensive coordinator be in the defensive weeds, and you coach the coaches.
Jason
That's it.
says all the time, and I think he's probably right, that Stefanski doesn't have a massive ego. Well, let him prove it right now.
Yeah.
Step back
step
and let
back.
somebody else do it.
Step
Go
back.
ahead.
All right, next up we got from Reggie Glover. Stefanski is too nice. He needs to put boots to butts and start benching players for poor play. Enough is enough. These guys have no heart, lungs, or brains.
Can't
Can't
disagree with
can't
a lot of
disagree
that.
on that.
I mean, you don't have to have a fire and brimstone coach, but you do have to have a coach, in my view, that the players have a fear of screwing up and a desire to achieve for. Belichick, I thought all the players were always afraid. This team didn't make penalties because they knew there would be repercussions. This team just keeps making them because guess what? There haven't been any repercussions.
I know you can't sit everybody, because if you start sitting people for penalties, like, you're gonna have a hard time playing in this league with backups. But here's what you could do. Martin Emerson is a healthy scratch to start. He will play today because he did X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
Or
there's got to be some level
There's
of
no
accountability.
accountability.
There hasn't been.
right.
And when there's no accountability,
starting.
there's no fear
No
in the
series.
players, and you get 53 individuals trying to put up numbers so they can further their careers, but nothing when it comes to pulling the boat forward with the team. We need a common goal.
All right, so next up we got DB Dog. Bottom line, Harris and Zinter make their blocks. DW would have had tight end on the corner. OR, Judy middle in the end zone. Sorry, this one's tough to read. We win. All 22 will show it. So he's basically saying Watson had people open.
I saw
line.
screen grabs that showed two wide open receivers on that last play, but in Watson's defense, he had 0.6 seconds before he was retreating. Really, really difficult.
It's so easy to do screenshot football.
It's not always the best thing to do.
Go ahead, Anthony.
From Paul A., what about the receivers coach? We aren't developing our receivers like Thrash and Tillman. Offensive line coach is horrible also. We need to start being accountable.
Well, we changed receivers coach.
I think that was the one spot they didn't change, wasn't it?
No, I thought they did change receivers coach.
No, they kept the receivers coach.
I think
they
did.
They got
maybe-
tight end. They got rid of the tight ends coach.
I think one receiver.
And the running backs coach went
Yeah.
in Stump, and obviously AVP, the offensive coordinator, gone.
Next.
Another one from DB Dog. The O-line is now being asked to block in a scheme that they aren't built for. Built
That's
for a
fair.
zone scheme, not spread. Also, did Za'Darius play yesterday? Wow.
I didn't even know if he got off the bus.
I wouldn't have known.
I didn't see him.
He just out here collecting checks.
There's a rumor he's getting paid, but
I mean, come on, man.
Is that it, Anthony?
No, I got 2 more for you guys. The next one comes from Minzy Farts. I made a mistake. I said I'm done with 4 after week 1. 4 played great. Jones needs to get out of here. Coop, thanks, but get out of here. 1 year playoffs, next year trash. I feel for it again.
All right. Last
And
one.
the last one from N Bynes. Amari is in his feelings, and it shows in his play. He seems distracted at times, which is the difference between this and last season's play. I'm sorry, there was one more that snuck through. Raw Dog says, hey, Jay, let other people finish their points before you start.
I've never let anybody finish their point. I'm not going to let you finish your read.
And let me make a final point that in the
What,
All-Star,
has he just started watching the show?
great news in the All-Star game for baseball next year. They're going back to wearing their team uniform.
Yeah,
I like that.
I like that. I saw
like
that
that.
too. I didn't really. The one thing you liked about the old school was you could see your guys.
Right,
Everybody else could
I
see their
hate
guys.
that the old
just
American
change-
national.
It was stupid.
Just
Yeah.
change. Didn't they have the hat though? They just had it.
That was it.
Yeah.
But I like seeing
I
the whole
like
uniform.
I like it too.
Yeah.
It's a nice touch, and it's a point of pride for a team, like Cincinnati this year. They didn't do anything on the field. They had a disappointing season, but if you can distinctly look at an All-Star game and say, "Yep, this guy's a Red, this guy's a Red."
That's right.
It's nice. I like it.
I like it.
See ya.
All right, guys, we're back to
Peace!
full strength tomorrow and another full Brown show. See you guys.
We did it. 1 o'clock.
Yeah, we did.